Tonight, a dragon is supposed to pick Kai. Instead, his own family cuts the life core out of his chest and sells it to his cousin. A human with no core can never link a dragon. Not that night, not ever. So, they leave our boy on the floor and go celebrate. 4 minutes after that, Kai isn't human anymore. And losing that core is the best thing that ever happens to him. Everyone is born with a core. It sits in your chest and it makes mana your whole life. Every core is a different size, and everybody fills theirs at a different speed. Humans can't use a drop of it, but dragons can, and they love it. Every dragon is sitting on a pile of money it stopped counting centuries ago. They live forever, and they are the strongest thing that has ever walked. When you already own everything, there is only one thing left to want: more power. That is what a human core is for. A dragon links to your core and burns your mana like it's his own for as long as you're close by and breathing. Nothing gets used up, it's access, and he pays for it. His money becomes your money, his name becomes your name, and your mana becomes his power. Today is ceremony day. 18 years old, one shot, the whole hall watching. Walk out with a contract and you never work again. Walk out without one and you go home and do what your parents did until you die. You can't summon a dragon and you can't make one want you. You stand in the circle and you hope. Which makes it dating, except your number is public and the other side has claws. Kai's cousin Vance goes first. Vance says steps into the circle and the mages read him out loud. 88%. A filled core throws off mana like heat off a road, and human eyes can't catch it. So nobody in the hall watches the kid in the circle. Everybody watches the high seats. And every dragon in the high seats sits up at once. The bidding starts out loud, hundreds of millions, for a kid who has never worked a day. Then one of them comes down off the rail without using the stairs. Emberwing. Crimson scales up his neck, wings half open, the air bending from the heat coming off him. He puts a hand on Vance's shoulder, and the bidding stops. Nobody in this hall is going to outbid Emberwing. Vance walked in as somebody's second son. He walks out with land, guards, and a name people are scared of. Kai has a fiancée, and she is standing right there beside him for all of it. Tessa, 2 years. All week she's been telling Kai it was going to be him. She lets go of his hand. And you can watch her do the math. Hundreds of millions for doing nothing for the rest of her life. Tsu is across the floor and on Vance's arm before Emberwing lets go of his shoulder. Loud enough for the back row, I was never going to marry a stable boy. Honestly, hard to blame her. Then it's our boy's turn. Kai steps into the circle. Not one dragon moves. They don't even look at each other about it. They look away. His core reads 0%. It always has. 18 years, 0. No heat comes off the kid, nothing at all. And the hall starts laughing. Here's the thing about that number though. Humans worked out how to measure how full a core is. Nobody ever worked out how big it is. 0% of a normal core means an empty tank. Nobody has ever asked what 0% of a bottomless one would look like. There is one flicker off Kai, half a second, right at the start. Then nothing. One dragon catches it. She doesn't say a word about it. She sits forward about an inch, and the 2 dragons either side of her notice her, do it. She's sitting higher than the rest, and her name is Orla. Gold to the elbow, scales up both arms, bored out of her mind. Orla only came tonight because she's shopping, and she hates that she has to be. That one's empty. You made me sit through all of this for an empty one? Then Orla stands up and walks out. That's when Kai's father starts talking to Vance's father. Quiet, off to the side, the way men talk when the price is already agreed. Because a core is a container, and containers can be moved. Take an empty one, put it in a man who already has a dragon, and his ceiling goes up. The core is worth nothing with our boy still attached to it. Attached to Vance, it's worth a cut of hundreds of millions. Kai's father gets a percentage. That is the entire deal. Kai's father calls him over. The family mage is already drawing. There's no knife. It's a spell, and it takes a long time to build. Kai asks what happens to him after. His father says, "Think about your family for once. Don't be selfish." Then the spell closes on him. It doesn't cut. It pulls, and it keeps pulling, and Kai can't get his feet under him. He gets one hand on his father's arm before his knees go. Our boy is out cold on the stone before the core is all the way out of him. The mage carries it across the circle and puts it into Vance. Then the whole hall goes white. Not light around Vance. Light everywhere, every corner of the room, all at once. It holds for 1 second and it drops. And when people can see again, Vance is face down on the floor. He couldn't hold it. It came in and it did not stop coming. Every dragon in that hall works it out in the same second. You don't get that off an empty core. You get it off one that was never empty. 18 years at 0% because it never fills up. Every dragon in the room turns to look at Kai. And Kai isn't there. There's a clean spot on the stone where our boy was lying, and nothing else. Kai wakes up somewhere with trees. Something is wrong with his hands. Kai doesn't have hands. Don't panic. Orla is crouched in front of him, holding up a shield like a mirror. Look at it, and don't panic. Kai looks. 4 legs, wings that don't open yet, scales. Our boy is a dragon, a newborn one, hours old. And Orlu is not bored anymore. Then something goes through him, gold for about a second, and gone. Orla stops talking, because that is a dragon evolving, and our boy is 4 hours old. Every dragon gets that first one. Most of them take a century to get there. You can't walk around like that, she tells him. Nobody does. Dragons don't live in the real shape. They wear a human one, and they only drop it when something is seriously trying to kill them. She shows him how to fold it down. It hurts, and it takes him most of an hour. When Kai gets up, he has hands again, scales up both arms, and wings he can't put away. Which is exactly what Amberwing looked like in the hall. Nobody who saw our boy now would guess he was human this morning. Because every dragon that has ever lived needs a human. Close by, alive, or the power stops. Kai doesn't. Kai makes his own, he always did, and it never runs out. He's the only dragon in the world that isn't chained to somebody else's heartbeat. He has also never thrown a punch that mattered in his life. Then something comes through the trees. An ogre. Twice his height, and it has very obviously done this before. Kai knows the basics. Every kid does. Feet, weight, shoulder, follow through. He has just never had anything behind them. The wings don't come out. Our boy doesn't need them. He plants his feet and swings the way his father taught him. The ogre leaves the ground. It clears the tree line, and it does not come down anywhere close. Kai stands there looking at his own hand. Behind him, Oarlu makes a small noise and covers her mouth. Because that is not what a dragon does on his first day. It is not what one does in year 50. She decides not to tell him that yet. He's had a night. Yeah, Orlu says, to nobody at all. He might actually be able to get the elixir. Kai has no idea what that is. Then Orlu asks him what he plans to do now. Kai says he's going to the capital to take it back. Orlu laughs at him, and this time she doesn't cover it. Because Vance is bonded to Amberwing now, and Amberwing is 900 years old. Kai is 1 day old, he can't fly, and he just found out he has wings. There is exactly one place that fixes that. It's called the Roost, and every young dragon in the world learns there. A ladder of trials, one rung at a time, in front of everybody. Climb it fast enough and the whole species has to look at you. And our boy does not have long to do it. Orla can get our boy in the door, she doesn't mention what she wants for it. And there is one small problem with the plan. It's the first thing anybody at the Roost is going to ask him. Every dragon there has a human waiting at home. Kai is going to be asked about his every single day. In 90 days, Vance gets crowned at the capital on a core that isn't his. That's how long our boy has to climb. And he just found out there is no ceiling on him. Boar Lu walks up the Roost Road like she owns it. Nobody on that road looks at her sideways. The Roost sits behind a wall of black stone, taller than any house Key has seen. There is one arch in it and one way in. At the arch there is a table, and on the table a book. A gate officer sits behind it with a pen and a bored face. Through the arch, Key can see the yard. Packed dirt, wide as a village, scuffed flat by 1,000 feet. Young dragons stand around in human form, waiting for something to start. Every one of them has scales running up both forearms to the elbow. Violet on one, steel blue on another. One boy's arms are plum. Their wings sit open behind them because dragon wings do not fold away. Kai's are slate gray, and he still cannot stop looking at them. The book is a register, and the register is the whole entry requirement. Every dragon who walks through writes down the human they are linked to. Name, town, and the date the link was made. Not a formality. A dragon with no human runs dry in about a month. You see them in the capital, grounded, with wings that will not lift. The officer does not look up, because nobody has ever had a reason to lie. Kai watches the boy ahead of him sign, and the officer waves that boy through. Then the officer holds the pen out in the air, waiting. And our boy has nothing to write, because he has no human. Kai's hand goes to the middle of his chest, to the scar sitting there. The officer taps the pen twice on the page. Kai's mouth opens and nothing useful comes out of it. Orlu takes the pen out of his hand. She leans over the book and writes one word under Kai's name. Mylo. That is her own human, signed in under a boy she met yesterday. This book is only for first years, and Orla has not been a first year in 400 years. So her name is nowhere in it and neither is Milo's until now. The officer reads it, looks at Orlu's gold wings and says nothing. The officer writes the date and waves the two of them through. They get 3 steps past the arch. A big one pushes off the wall and steps into our boy's path. Black scales to the elbow, black wings, arms folded over a barrel chest. The black scaled one looks Kai up and down and laughs. Who is this? The black dragon says. Nobody here has ever seen him, and you are vouching for him? Kai steps forward before he can think, and Orlu is already past him. She steps in, takes the black dragon's wrist, and turns it over. The black dragon folds at the knees and hits the dirt face first. Orla puts a boot on the black dragon's wing and holds him flat. Then she lifts her foot and keeps walking, and she never explains a thing. The whole yard is watching, and not one of them says a word. The black dragon stays face down while the two of them walk away. Orlu walks Kai along the edge of the yard while the first years drill. You link to a human, and you burn the mana that human makes. She points at a pair of them working a stone press across the yard. The human makes it fresh every day he is alive, so the well never drops. What you take out of it is power that stays, and life that stays. It piles up quietly, and nobody can see how much of it you are carrying. Cross a line and you evolve. And evolving locks in everything you have gained. Orla stops at the fence line and watches a pair of them grapple. Until you cross that line, none of it is safe. Which is why you never kill your human. Kill him, and everything you have not banked yet goes in the ground with him. Or Lu says all of it the way a shopkeeper reads out prices. Kai nods like he has understood it, and he has. At the edge of the yard, the kid stops and rubs his chest. It has been cold in there since last night, and he decides that is normal. It is not. Every dragon standing in this yard is spending a human's mana to be here. Ki is spending something too. He has not noticed, and he will not for a long time. The yard fills up after breakfast, and nobody treats the morning as special. Orla is gone before the whistle and does not say when she is back. An instructor walks out with plum scales and a whistle on a cord. She points at the equipment laid out across the yard and says one word. Output. 40 young dragons spread across the yard without being told twice. They run this drill every morning and most of them are bored of it. Kai has never seen any of it before in his life. First station is a line of stone bowls on waist-high posts. Each bowl has a thin copper needle standing up out of the middle. You push mana into the rim until the needle leans to the chalk mark. Not past the mark, to it. The girl next to Kai has violet scales and does it without looking down. Her needle drifts over and stops dead on the chalk mark. The instructor walks the line, glances at it, keeps walking. Then it is Kai's turn and the kid puts a hand on the rim. The needle goes straight past the mark. It whips so hard the copper snaps off and goes over the wall. The bowl splits down one side and the crack carries. Gray dust runs out of the break and piles on the ground. The instructor looks at the wreck, then at Kai, and adds 2 bowls to a damage list. Less, she says. Kai tells her that was as gentle as he can go. She points him at the next bowl down the line. He cracks that one too. The violet girl picks up her things and moves 2 stations away. Second station is a bowl of water with a sewing needle floating on top. You have to walk that needle across the water without sinking it. It takes the smallest push you can make, and it takes it steady. A steel blue boy does it in 4 seconds and checks who is watching. Kai leans over his bowl and tries to give it almost nothing. Nothing is what comes out. He tries again with his jaw set and the water does not shiver. Kai has one setting, and this is not it. With Orlu gone since the whistle, the black-scaled one from the gate finds this very funny. Push it, the black dragon calls. It is a needle. Kai pushes, and the needle sits there like it is nailed down. On the walk to the 3rd station, the year passes the hall door. A board is bolted beside it, hung with a row of small painted plaques. 1 plaque for every rung, each with its own name and its own painted trial. Partway along the row, somebody has cut a scratch into the wood. That scratch is as high as a first year has ever got before a crowning. Kai has to get past it before Vance is crowned, and nobody in this yard knows that. Third station is an iron ring strung with 12 dead lamps. You take one lamp and feed it until the glass holds steady. Your lamp only, that is the whole test. An indigo-scaled boy lights his and holds it, and the other 11 stay black. Up front, a boy with copper curls does his first go and looks bored. Then our boy takes the last lamp and puts his thumb on the base. Every lamp on the ring comes on at once. All 12, white, bright enough that students step back and shade their eyes. The iron frame hums and throws 12 shadows of Kai across the dirt. It holds about 3 seconds, then all 12 go out together. Kai is left holding a cold lamp with nothing in it. The instructor asks him which one of those lamps is his. Kai points at the dead one in his hand. She tells him she cannot score that and sends him to the back. Somewhere in that hour, the yard settles on its answer about the new boy. Huge barrel, the steel blue boy says. No tap. The violet girl says Kai will be hauling stone for the kitchens by winter. A deep rose girl says her uncle was the same and never got a crowning. Nobody in the yard thinks that answer might be wrong. And on everything they watched this morning, they should not. Last hour is pairs, 2 dragons bracing a stone plate between them. Kai's partner is the indigo-scaled boy, who lasts about 9 seconds. Then Kai's push tears the plate loose and drops it in 2 pieces. The indigo-scaled boy shakes out his wrists and asks for a different partner. Our boy finishes the hour at an empty station with 2 halves of stone at his feet. At the end of the day, the instructor comes out with a board and a nail. She hangs it on the far side of the door from the plaques and walks off. It is the day's ranking. Every name in the year, top to bottom. 40 names in wet chalk, and the whole yard moves at once. Students crowd it 3 deep, hunting down the list for their own line. The steel blue boy has come up 2 places and makes sure people hear. Kai has to wait for a gap before he can get near enough to read. He starts at the top and works down, and it takes a while. His name is not in the middle of the board. It is the last line on it, with nothing written under it. Somebody behind him reads it out loud because somebody always does. The kid stands in front of 40 names and reads the last one twice. Nobody waits for him to say anything because nobody expects him to. Tomorrow the roost runs the same drills and expects the same result. Kai walks back to the dormitory and nobody walks back with him. Before sunrise, the roost's back field is empty and wet. Orlu stands in the middle of it with her arms folded. She has been out here since before Kai woke up. 400-year-old dragons lend a roost their name. They come for the crowning dinner and they go home. A cook at the kitchen door sees gold wings on the grass. By breakfast, half the roost knows where Orlu spends her mornings. 2 instructors watch from the wall with their hands behind them. One of them writes something down before he goes inside. She sets a single river stone on the grass, dark and smooth. Pick it up, she says, then do nothing. Kai picks it up and stands there holding it. Doing nothing turns out to be the hard part. You leak. Every dragon leaks all day into whatever you touch. You shut that off first, and every other skill comes after it. The kid holds the stone to a count of 10. Steam comes off his fist in the cold air. The moss on the rock browns and curls back. At 20, the stone is too hot and he drops it. The grass under it goes black in a coin-sized circle. Orlu puts another stone in his hand. 9 stones split before the sun clears the wall. Next morning, she hangs a tin bell on a fence post. Ring it once, softly, without touching it. Orla flicks 2 fingers and the bell goes ting. Kai tries. The bell tears off the string and clears the field. He fetches it back. She knots it on and counts again. Orlu says the count and nothing else, all morning. By Friday, our boy can hold a stone to 30. A first year holds one until he gets bored of holding it. Orla watches him fail with the face she keeps for weather. Then she walks back through the arch to her own day. The roost office has 1 lamp burning at noon. Behind it sits the man who keeps every book here. Indigo scales, wire spectacles, ink on 2 fingers. People have asked him the same question twice a day this week. So he has the gate register carried up and opens it flat. He turns to the day Kai walked in and reads the line. Under Kai's name, in Orlu's handwriting, 1 word, Milo. He runs a thumb back through the pages out of habit. The book holds first years, which is why it holds nothing of hers. He closes the register, satisfied, and sends it back down. Then he copies Milo onto a slip and calls a runner in. Find out who this is, before dark. Orlu's estate is an hour out, white walls and long gravel. The runner finds the boy behind the stables with a hay fork. Lo is 13 at the most and small for it. Mousy hair sticking up at the crown, brown eyes, patched tunic. His boots are too big and the toes are stuffed with rag. He has named all 4 horses and says every name out loud. A cook carries bread and a bowl out to the yard. Lo thanks her twice and eats on an upturned bucket. His heels swing. A groom pushes his hair the wrong way. Lo grins at him with his mouth full. The runner writes 4 words on the slip: stable boy, nobody's son. Lo waves at him the whole length of the gravel. The word is round the wash trough before supper. The new boy's human forks hay for his bread at a country estate. 2 dragons at the trough decide it is Orlu's judgment that looks bad. An estate boy with a pitchfork, they say, and a first year who cannot aim. A steel blue boy asks what a gold dragon is doing here at all. By the 3rd day, the instructors are saying it too. She is slumming. Bored, 400, playing house. A gold dragon at a first-year roost is a story worth repeating. It reaches 2 other roosts inside the week. A letter comes back from one of them with a seal. Key does not know. Orlu reads it once and holds a corner of it in the lamp. Kai sees the black curl of it in the dish the next morning. An instructor stops Orlu at the hall door and asks her outright. Orla looks at him until he finds somewhere else to be. A first year copies her walk across the yard for a laugh. 2 others copy the laugh, which is how these things spread. At the long table that night, the chairs beside her stay empty. Last week there was a queue for those chairs. Our boy sees the gap from the far end of the hall. He counts the empty seats and works out which morning emptied them. It was the morning she wrote in that book. Kai sits where he always sits and eats his supper. Trial 1 is 9 days later and the roost stops work for it. The hall floor is cleared and a circle raked out in white sand. Tiered steps go up 3 sides and by mid-morning they are full. 3 judges sit at a long table with a stack of brass tokens. A white token for clean work. A black token for waste. A steward stands beside them holding the card with every name on it. A judge sets his black tokens on the left, the whites on the right. You get 3 exchanges, and you shape each one or you take a black. The steward's card has 1 column on it, and that column is technique. You can walk in carrying an ocean and walk out with 3 blacks. Kai reads the card over the steward's shoulder and works it out. The steward calls the first 2 names and the hall goes quiet. A girl with violet scales lands 3 shaped strikes in a row. 3 whites go down on the table in front of her. Up front, a copper-curled boy watches every exchange without moving. The steps clap the good work and sit still for the bad. Kai is called in the 9th pair and the steward reads it twice. Our boy walks onto the sand in a coat 2 sizes too big. His opponent is a head shorter, deep rose scales, very still hands. The rose-scaled boy sets his feet and watches Kai's chest. They bow to the table. A judge lifts a hand and drops it. Key swings first, wide, with all of himself behind it. The swing goes past the rose-scaled boy's shoulder and carries Kai a step on. The rose-scaled boy steps inside and hooks Kai's ankle. Key lands flat on his back and the sand jumps. 1 black token goes down on the table. Exchange 1. Kai gets up with sand in his collar, breathing through his mouth. The rose-scaled boy waits until Kai is set because that is the form. 2nd exchange. Kai comes in low and grabs for the coat. The rose-scaled boy turns the grab and taps Kai's knee. Kai's leg folds under him and he is down again. 2 black tokens. Somebody high in the step starts laughing. 3rd exchange, and our boy puts everything out at once. The steps watch the same swing they have already seen twice. The sand comes up in a wall and blows back into Key's face. He shuts his eyes and swings blind through his own dust. The rose-scaled boy walks in under it with his forearm up. 1 step, 1 strike to the chest, and Kai goes down. The 3rd token lands on the table. Black. The steward writes the result while our boy is still on the floor. 1 line. Supply only, no shaped work, unrankable at trial. That card goes in a drawer of cards that follow a dragon for life. The middle judge asks whether this one goes on the spring lists. The judge on his left shakes his head once. The spring lists are how a first year finds a sponsor for his crowning. The steward draws a line through Kay's name and calls the next pair. A boy from another cohort reaches down and pulls him up. The kid walks back to the steps with grit down his shirt. The rose-scaled boy collects 3 whites and a nod from a judge. He takes them with both hands and bows to the table. The girl with violet scales takes the top line of the card. Orla stands at the back wall, a long way from the gold tier seats. The dragons nearest her have moved 3 steps down and 1 along. She watches all 3 exchanges and her face holds steady. Then she goes out the side door ahead of the crowd. The hall empties in 10 minutes and the noise goes with it. A boy with a broom rakes the circle flat again. The steward carries the box of cards out under one arm. He sets it on the office table beside the lamp. The keeper with the indigo scales writes the results into a longer book. Kai sits on the bottom step, sand in both hands, the broom working round him. He is bottom of the year in a book that keeps him there. Above him, the lamps are still burning over the empty steps. The flight cliffs sit an hour up the coast from the roost. Gray rocks scoured bare, dropping straight into open water. At the top, there is a flat shelf of stone, wide as a courtyard. The wind off the sea comes hard enough to lean your weight on. Gulls hang under the lip of it with their wings locked open. 41st years stand on the shelf with their coats snapping. Wings come with the body. Flying is a separate thing you learn. You learn it here, badly, next to 40 others, learning it badly. Evolving opens deeper magic to a dragon. It hands nobody a skill. The instructor is a broad woman, plumb scales, a coil of rope. She knots the rope round the first student's waist. Off the shelf. Then hold yourself up, that is the lesson. The steel blue boy steps off and drops like a bag. The rope snaps tight and she walks him back up the rock. He kneels on the shelf with both hands flat on the stone. 40 faces watch him and stay flat, because everybody is next. Push hard enough to hold your own weight off the ground. Then shape the push, or you go straight up and nowhere. Push is supply, shape is craft. Everyone here is better at craft. The violet-scaled girl lifts 4 feet off the shelf and holds it. She counts to 20 and sets down on her toes. A copper-curled boy goes up clean on his first attempt. He hovers, turns himself in place, and lands. He rolls his shoulders once and steps back into the line. Kai gets the rope last, the way he gets everything last. He steps off the edge and puts out every bit of himself. Our boy goes up 30 feet in about a second. Then he tips over sideways, and the sea comes up at him. The rope catches him under the ribs and empties his lungs. He goes off that edge 11 more times. He stays up twice. On the second morning, the instructor unties him and coils the rope. "You will not fall," she says. "You are too strong to fall." She says it the way you write off a wasted length of rope. By the 3rd afternoon, the kid can hold himself steady in the air. He tries to bring himself round and drifts 30 feet wide. He puts down 40 feet past the shelf and walks back to the rock. Then the class holds one long hover to see who lasts. He leaks worse than anyone, and here is what an enormous supply is for. Technique gets you off the rock. Fuel keeps you up there. The violet-scaled girl drops out at 4 minutes and lands hard. A black-scaled boy makes 6 and comes down gray around the mouth. The copper-curled boy holds 9 and sets down easy. Kai is still up at 12, crooked and drifting and ugly to watch. He is the last one off the rock, and that is the whole of it. The shelf watches our boy come down and goes back to the carts. After lunch, 2 examiners drag a folding table onto the shelf. They set the gate register open on it and weight the pages down. You weaken the further you get from your own human. 5 stone posts stand along the coast road north, each capped in iron. Every cap carries a hook of numbered wooden tags. You fly out and you pull a tag off the last post you reach. Then you bring it back and put it on the table. The register tells them where every human in the year lives. So each boy is given the post he ought to be able to reach. The violet-scaled girl is given 2 and comes back off the second. She lands with her hands shaking and puts tag 2 on the table. A black-scaled boy is given 3 and turns for home at the second. His wings go soft and heavy out over the water. Kai's human is at an estate an hour inland, so he is given 2. He goes off the shelf into the wind and follows the coast north. The first post passes under him, low and white with salt. The second post comes up, and the kid slows to feel for it. He waits 3 breaths on the wing for the drag they described. Then he puts his shoulder into the wind and keeps going. Post 3 stands in wet shingle with the tide around its base. Out past it, the cold under his shirt sharpens to a point. It is the first time that Scar has ever changed. Post 4 sits on a headland with open water behind it. Post 5 is 15 minutes further and the sky is his alone. Kai puts down on the shingle at the foot of it. He works the last tag off the iron cap with both hands. Then he walks himself round on the stones until he faces south. He goes up again, pointed the way he came. Back on the shelf, they have stopped watching the sky. The instructor says the word deserter out loud and writes it down. Then somebody points at a slate gray shape low over the water. Kai lands badly, goes down on one knee and holds up the tag. 5, painted black, off a post at the end of the coast road. The shelf goes loud. A boy who laughed at trial 1 thumps his back. Halfway along the shelf, the copper-curled boy has stopped drilling. His rope is still coiled over one arm where he was holding it. He watches Kai come up through the crowd and does not look away. The 2 boys beside him work out that he has stopped. They turn and look where he is looking, and then so does the row behind them. By the time Ki reaches the table, half the shelf is watching the copper-curled boy. He takes one long look at the black tag, then picks his rope back up. One examiner writes the number in the book, then writes it again. The other examiner puts his pen down and stands up. The older one, steel blue with rope burn on both palms, takes the register. He spreads it on the folding table and pins the chart under a stone. Kai's line has one word under it, written in Orlu's hand. He finds the estate on the road chart and measures it against his palm. Then he measures the coast road out to post 5. The second measure is 4 hands, and the first was 1. He reads the page 3 times and every line on it is correct. He turns the book sideways into the light and reads it again. Then he folds the corner of the page down and shuts the book. He goes to supper and sits at the end of the table alone. Orla waits at the arch as the carts come in, nobody standing near her. Somebody has already brought her the number. She walks our boy out to the back field before he has eaten. 400 years, she says. Nothing has ever climbed this fast. He is still working out what to do with his face. Not fast enough, Orlu says, and goes back in through the arch. The kid stands on the wet grass with the tag in his fist. Then he goes up off the field on his own, badly, in the dark. He lands and goes up again, and lands. Kai keeps going out to the backfield after the lamps go down. 9 nights running, alone, off the wet grass and back onto it. He can hold a hover now for as long as he likes. Turning is the thing that still puts him back on the grass. He picks a fence post and tries to come round it. He goes wide every time, by the width of a cart. On the 10th night, he takes it out to the coast road. More room to be bad in, and the whole road asleep. The road runs black between the gorse sea on his left. He is a mile past the second post when the gorse goes quiet. Every gull on that stretch of cliff leaves at once. Kai puts down on the road without knowing why. The man comes up the road on foot, which is the frightening part. A head and a half taller than Ki, and twice through the shoulders. Plum scales to the elbow, an iron gray braid, a plate cuirass. One wing is patched along the front edge with old scar tissue. There is a crimson sash across the plate. Kai has seen that color once, on a coat in his father's hall. He saw it on the night everything happened. The man looks at Kai's chest instead of his face. Turn around, he says. I want to see the back of that chest. Kai keeps his front to him. The man draws a short blade off his hip without hurrying. Nothing personal. I am paid by the afternoon. Kai puts out everything he has, straight at the plate. The blast strips the gorse off the bank on both sides. It rolls over the cuirass and moves him half a step. The man walks through it with his head down, like weather. Then he backhands Kai off the road into the ditch. Kai comes up with his mouth full of water. He has more than this man, he can put none of it anywhere. So the kid does the only thing on the list. He runs. He goes up off the ditch and the man goes up after him. The road below starts unspooling faster than he can think. Behind him the plate makes a low, steady note in the air. Kai is faster. That is the entire margin. Straight is all he has, and straight is where the man is best. The coast road bends inland at the quarry. Our boy takes the corner wide, the width of a cart. The man cuts the inside of it and the blade goes past Kai's ear. Fine. Then he stops taking corners like a cart. He drops into the quarry road with walls up either side. Stone left, stone right, and no room to be wide in. He hits the first corner and puts a wing down into it. The wall takes the skin off his knuckles. He comes out the far side still going. Behind him, the man scrapes the same corner and loses 2 strides. Kai does it again at the next one and loses less skin. By the 4th corner, he has stopped thinking about the wing. This is flying badly on purpose, and fast. He goes under a stone bridge with his chest a foot off the water. The man goes over it, because the man does not fit under. Kai comes out into the courtyards behind the harbor. Sheds, chimneys, drying lines, 100 corners in half a mile. He goes over a roof, drops off the far side, cuts left. The man loses him for 4 seconds and finds him by the noise. Kai clips a drying line and drags a bedsheet through 2 streets. He rounds a chimney tight enough to bring the brick dust off it. Then he learns the thing the cliffs could not teach him. You turn the weight, and the wings follow it. The next corner comes and goes, and he barely leans. The one after that he takes with his shoulder down and clips the corner. Behind him, the plate note holds steady and stops gaining. The harbor road runs up to the seawall and stops. 20 feet of wet black stone with the water behind it. Kai has come down this road 9 nights running. The man has been in this town one afternoon. Kai goes at the wall flat out with the sea in front of him. 10 feet off it, he drops a shoulder and rolls along the face. He clears the parapet by the length of his own arm. The man is built for a straight fight and is having one. He comes in behind Kai with the blade out in front. The wall holds. The sound carries all the way back to the courtyards. The plate splits down one side. The blade goes end over end into the harbor. The man comes off the stone and lands on the cobbles. He is breathing. One wing is bent the wrong way under him. Kai stands on the parapet with his knuckles open. He could finish it. He knows where to put it now. Instead, our boy climbs down and takes the sash off the plate. He folds it twice and puts it inside his shirt. Then he walks home because his arms are shaking too hard to fly. It takes 3 hours and he gets in before the kitchen. He washes the ditch water out of his hair at the trough. He puts his shirt on over the sash and goes to breakfast. Nobody asks. This roost has no idea he left it. The steel blue boy is telling the table his own hover time. The kid eats 2 bowls of porridge and says nothing. First bell goes and 40 first-years walk out to the yard. Kai takes his place at the back of the line. The broad instructor sets a drill they have run every day for a month. Kai runs it badly, the same way he ran it badly yesterday. Halfway through, he catches himself dropping a shoulder. He straightens it out before anybody sees. Then he goes back to being last. South of here, a man with a bent wing is loaded onto a cart. The cart goes to the capital. It goes nowhere near this roost. The myth class runs in a low room on the north side of the hall. 40 desks, a chalkboard, and 1 window that faces a wall. It is the last class of the day and nobody wants it but Kai. The teacher comes in carrying more books than she has arms for. Heavy-set, cropped white hair, reading lenses on a cord. A charcoal brown robe with a green stole over one shoulder. Deep green scales up both forearms, the color of old roofing. Her name is Greta, and she has taught this hour for 90 years. She puts the books down in a stack and leaves them shut. Today is the White Mart Dragon, she says. Sit down. Half the year has heard the name already and slumps at it. Kai has never heard it and sits forward on the bench. There was a dragon at White March a long time ago. He could put a man back on his feet who had been down a year. He could take a burned field and have it green inside a week. He could stand in a river and stop the river. She writes 3 words on the board and underlines the last one. Somebody at the back is carving his initials into a desk lid. Rain starts on the window and not one head turns to it. That is the myth, Greta says. That is the whole of it. Kai puts his hand up, because he is 8 weeks old. Gret looks at him over the top of her lenses and waits. Why does nobody just do it, our boy says. If the magic is written down, somebody reads it out. The room holds still for about half a second. Then 40 first-years laugh at him at once. The steel blue boy has to put his head down on the desk. The violet-scaled girl laughs behind her hand, which is worse. A boy behind Kai says the question back to him in a baby voice. 2 more pick it up and it goes round the back row. Up front, the copper-curled boy keeps his eyes on his book. The kid sits with his ears going red and lets it happen. His hand goes flat against his shirt front and stays there. Guritu lets it run because she has watched this happen before. Then she raps the board twice with a knuckle and it stops dead. It is not a stupid question, she says. It is the first one. She reaches over and stands her books up in a row along the desk. 7 of them. 2 together at the near end, then a long gap. The last one stands on its own, right out at the far end. She lays a finger on the near 2 without looking at them. You open these because of what you are, not because you read well. Every dragon in this room can reach that end of the row. The one at the far end has been shut for the whole modern age. Evolving hands, you know skill. It hands you a longer arm. Flying gets taught in a class. Magic gets read out of a book you can reach. And most of what sits down that end, Greta says, is useless. She picks the far book up and holds it flat on her palm. It is thinner than the others and the boards are warped. This is where the white mark magic lives. It can raise a dragon from the dead, she says. Then she stops, because she knows exactly how long to stop for. Lovely trick, except we don't die. The room finds this the funniest thing all week. The steel blue boy says it back to his friend twice. Cry. Krya puts the book on top of the stack and moves on. She spends the rest of the hour on a dragon who drowned a valley. Our boy writes nothing for the rest of that hour. He sits with both hands flat on the desk, knuckles heeled over, watching the row. The bell goes and 40 benches scrape back at the same time. 2 boys do the baby voice at him on the way out the door. Gress stays behind and packs her books into a canvas bag. She takes them in the order they stand, and the thin one goes in last. Kai is the final student out of the room, and she watches him go. Out in the yard, the post has come in from the capital. 2 instructors stand at the gate reading the same letter. By supper, it is round the trough, and it is not about a letter. They have started building the platform in the Capitol Square. Months early, for a crowning that is still months out. The kid hears it 3 times on his way across the yard. He takes his bowl out to the step outside the myth room. Down at the trough, the steel blue boy is doing the joke again. In the Capitol, a boy stands still while a tailor pins a coat on him. That boy is wearing Kai's core under it, and he is dying in it. His bowl goes cold on the step, and the row of books stays. 7 of them in a line, and he can reach the first 2. A black carriage comes up the Roost Road at noon. Fur on the seats and a driver in livery. The gate guard opens both halves and stands back. The dragon who steps down is short and heavy. Indigo scales to the elbow, indigo wings, gray at the temples. Rings on both hands and fur at his collar. His boots are polished and the yard is gravel. His name is Bram, and he owns 4 valleys. He asks the gate guard for Kai by name. Drill is running in the yard, and the drill stops. 41st years turn around on the hall steps. The instructor points at the back of the line. Kai is at the back of the line. Bram crosses the gravel and studies our boy. You are 8 weeks old, Bram says. Your human mucks out a stable in the capital. Bram keeps a human woman from a bloodline 4 centuries deep. Her contract cost him a town, signed before witnesses. Here is the quiet part of every auction. You are buying what that person's core is supposed to make. Bram turns a ring around his finger. Good blood makes good cores, and cheap blood makes cheap ones. Every price in the trade rests on that one sentence. Half the dragons Bram drinks with have valleys mortgaged against it. Then a stable boy's core outruns 400 years, Bram says. If that holds, I have been robbed since the day I hatched. So has every dragon who ever paid a fair price. Bram's breath is going too fast for a man standing still. Bram is here on his own coin, for his own reasons. Bram is frightened, and being right is what frightens him. I need you to be a mistake, Bram says. A mistake gets written off. A record gets copied out. Bram hands his coat to the driver. The instructor tells the steps to clear. 41st years press up against the rail instead. Bram is off the gravel before our boy's arms come up. Bram is heavy, and heavy in a line is fast. Bram hits Kai over the yard, and they go up together. Kai's back scrapes the gutter of the north hall. A roof towel comes loose and drops into the well. Bram gets both hands around Kai's throat and squeezes. Kai quits fighting the grip and drops a shoulder instead. The weight goes over, and the wings follow the weight. That is the quarry road all Ki has. Kai comes out of it sideways and low over the roof. Bram carries straight on, which is his whole craft. Bram tries to shed all that weight and cannot. He goes out past the roofline with every pound still on him. Kai is behind him by then, running on pure reflex. Kai puts a hand out to shove past and get clear. The shove goes through Bram's shoulder like a cart. Bram crosses the whole yard before he lands. The big man comes down in the gravel by the well. Gravel goes up in a fan and rains on the steps. He cannot get his breath back, and his mouth stays open. Bram gets to his knees and stops there. Kai lands 8 feet off with his hands still open. Kai is trying to get away. The rest is an accident. That was not technique, Bram says, to the ground. 41st years stand very still on the steps. The steel blue boy is looking hard at the gravel. Up on the rail, the copper-curled boy watches the well. 2 instructors step between Ki and the yard. They are facing the yard. The driver gets his master up under both arms. The carriage goes back down the road at a walk. Bram's coat is still folded over the driver's arm. Kai turns to go back to his place in the line. The whole fight takes under a minute. The kid gets 4 steps and sits down hard. He cannot get his palm back up off the stone of the well. He sits there until the yard has emptied out. An instructor says his name twice before Ki stands. Kai stops twice on the stairs going up. He sleeps through the supper bell with his boots on. He wakes in the dark with the lamp burned out. He sits up in the dark and finds the wall with one hand. His boots are still laced from the morning. Beginner work, the master says. On your feet. The practical room is under the hall, down 12 steps. Long stone benches, sand trays, a rack of candles. His name is Doran, black scales, white chalk on both sleeves. Doran holds up a brass pipe the width of a straw. Every spell you learn this year is a pipe that wide. The first spells are built cheap on purpose, for students on a trickle. 40 first years take a bench, and 2 benches stay empty. They are the 2 either side of Kie. Yesterday the whole year watched a 4-valley dragon land in the gravel. The year has not worked out what that makes him. So it watches our boy sideways and keeps its voice down. Doran lays one finger flat in his sand tray. A thread of light runs down it, thin as a hair. The sand goes the color of bread crust. Blood heat, Doran says. Hold it for 10. 40 trays start warming along the benches. The tall girl at the bench end holds hers at 8. Then Kai puts a finger into his own sand. The tray lights white and the sand jumps like water. It fuses to a flat slab in 3 seconds. The slab cracks the frame and smokes. Doran drops it in the yard and brings a fresh tray back. Second work is a spell printed on cheap paper. You feed the card and the ink glows and holds. Cards come up glowing along the bench. Kai touches his card and the ink flares white. The paper goes up in his fingers and drops as ash. Doran hands the kid another one and folds his arms. That card burns faster than the first. Third work is a bowl of water and a hand-sized mist. A boy with a broken front tooth holds his steady. Kai puts one finger on the rim of his bowl. Steam hits the ceiling and rolls back down the benches. The bowl boils dry and splits along its base. Kai stands in a cloud with both hands still out. Somebody at the back says the word kettle. The word sits there on its own and dies. Doran holds the split bowl up over his head. Every wreck on this bench has burst outward. Kai is failing with too much, and the room reads it as too little. Doran lifts the brass pipe and puts a thumb over one end. He blows into it, and the seam splits down the side. 2 halves ring on the stone floor. That, Doran says, is what the new boy does to my equipment. That gets a laugh because Doran is allowed. Then the candles come out, and a candle is the cheapest work. Doran sets a brass holder in front of every student. A stub of tallow, a gray wick, one small push. Wicks catch down the benches in 1s and 2s. 40 small flames stand up along the stone. Our boy closes his hand around the base of his holder. The wick goes bright, then off like a match head. A black curl stands up out of the brass. Doran sets a second candle into the holder. This one bends over halfway and slumps into a puddle. Tallow runs off the bench and over Kai's boot. The third candle lights along its whole body at once. It burns down to the brass in 4 seconds. Wax spatters the bench and the boy opposite swears. The fourth goes off with a crack like a dropped plate. The holder splits and rocks over on the stone. Doran takes the rest of the candles away. Enough, Doran says, you are costing me stock. He tips the wreck into a pail by the door. Send him up a rung, a boy at the far bench says. Bigger spell, bigger fire, same dead wick. That one gets the biggest laugh of the hour. Doran turns his back and wipes the chalkboard. The hour has 20 minutes left. 40 flames hold steady down the bench. Doran starts the next row with the bent holder still rocking. Word about the practical yard beats Kai to the myth room. Gretza has her books standing in a row on the desk. 7 of them, near end to far end. She keeps the whole year an extra hour and shuts the door. The steel blue boy drops onto the end bench. Up front, the copper-curled boy sets his pen down. Jerry 2S taps the 2 books at the near end. In order. Lift the cover. The steel blue boy opens both of them easily. The third one takes both palms and sits there. Every first year gets the same 2 books and stops there. The copper-curled boy gets the third open an inch. The room notices, and the cover falls shut again. Gret writes something down and calls the kid up. Key lifts the third cover with 2 fingers. It opens like a door with wind behind it. Somebody at the back says, "Wait," out loud. Greta slides the fourth across, and that opens too. The fifth is bound in something gone black with age. Kai gets both hands under it and it swings up. The violet-scaled girl stands at her bench to see. Gret stops writing. It takes both her arms to slide the sixth across. This one has been shut since before I was born. Slate gray fingers settle on the edge of the board. It lifts. Greta lays her pencil along the row, near end to far. A form is a channel somebody cut, and you pour yourself into it. Cut narrow, for whoever wrote it had a trickle to spend. She taps the far end of the row twice. Those were cut by dragons with an ocean behind them. They won a pool that went out of the world centuries ago. So the cheap ones tear and the deep ones hold you. Our boy is unskilled. He is the only one who can pay. Gretier 2 puts a finger on the third page. Kai reads 6 words out in a flat voice. The chalk dust in the air stops moving. Every desk in the room comes off the floor. Benches, bags, the chalkboard, the jug on the sill. The steel blue boy goes up sitting on his bench. Gri 2 grips the desk and watches Kai's face. Kai shuts the book and the hour comes down. 40 desks land flat and the jug rocks and holds. Somebody reads it out at last. It is Kai. Goretzi takes a candle out of the drawer and sets it down. "First year, second week," she says. "Light it." Kai puts a hand over the wick and says the words. The wick will not take it all, and the wax stays cold. Kai tries again with his palm flat, and the wick stays gray. 11 tries, and the kid's candle is still a candle. Crew, TRE2 puts it back in the drawer. The steel blue boy looks at the 6th book, then at Kai's hands. The baby-voiced boy keeps his eyes on his desk lid. The copper-curled boy writes 1 line and underlines it twice. Kai picks up his bag and goes out past them. The 7th book stands on its own at the far end. Thin, warped boards, a clasp gone green. The instructors live along a corridor over the stable arch. Kai goes up after supper with the 6th book in his head. A girl sits outside the first door mending a coat. Outside the second, a man reads by a lamp. Outside the third, a boy sleeps with a book on his chest. Humans, all of them, waiting on the dragons inside. Gada's door is last, at the end of the boards. 1 chair beside it, with her wet coat over the back. The corridor stops there. Inside, she is grating with a pencil stub and her lenses on. A pot sits on a plate over a low fire. She points the pencil at the other chair and keeps marking. Kai sits down. The kid asks her why dragons bond humans at all. GRE2S laughs. It is the laugh you get for asking why water is wet. She puts the pencil down and takes the lenses off. Then it goes out of her face. "Because we die," she says. She wipes the lenses on the green stole and holds them up. Dragons are mortal. A dragon burns a human's mana to keep standing up. Take the pool away and the dragon goes out like the fire. The oldest of us have gone through 11 humans. I've had 4. Every dragon our boy has ever looked at is renting. He asks whether anyone ever went looking for another pool. Greta lifts the pot off the plate. "There is one," she says. "We call it the source." She pours 2 cups and pushes one across the desk. It is a place, and it is a long way north. Every 100 years, somebody strong enough walks up there. She taps the desk 4 times, then once more, slowly. 5 that she can name, and 1 she wash leave. Greta draws a line under the marks with the pencil. Every one of them is still up there. Kai holds the cup and looks at the fire. "It is an even trade," Greta says. "They give us a life. We give them a good one." She says it the way you say a thing everyone knows. Kai sits there and lets it stand. The cup goes cold in both his hands. Gret goes back to her marking for a while. Then she asks our boy how long he thinks he has. Kai tells her. Cressus sets the pencil down and keeps her eyes on the page. Her pencil starts again, and Kai's cup sits full on the desk. 3 nights later, the north corridor is dark and quiet. Kai walks it with one hand on the wall. The myth room has a low lamp on the sill. Greta's 7 books stand in a line on her desk. 2 at the near end, then 4 he opened himself this week. Then the gap and the thin one out on its own. Our boy stops in the doorway, coat still on. He walks down the desk and touches all 6 on the way. At the gap he stops, and the 7th is still ahead of him. The thin book has warped boards and a clasp gone green. Kai picks it up. It is lighter than a plate. He lays it open and flattens the page with his palm. The writing is cramped and brown, packed to both edges. Half the marks are shapes instead of letters. He runs a fingertip along the first line. On the second line, his finger stops partway. He stands over the page he cannot read, lamp under his face. He closes the boards and squares them with 2 fingers. He sets it back at the far end, square to the edge. He puts the lamp back on the sill and goes out. He comes back the next night and the one after. The estate cart comes up the Roost Road on Tuesday. Oats, 2 barrels, and a boy on the tailgate. Milo swings down before the wheels stop rolling. Mousy hair up at the crown, patched brown tunic. His boots are too big and stuffed with rag at the toes. He goes to the cart horse first and says its name. A groom hands him a bucket and he carries it 2-handed. Kai stops under the arch on his way across. Our boy stays where he is. The kitchen door opens and the cook brings out bread. She gives Milo the heel of the loaf. Milo thanks her, then thanks her again going past. Kai watches him from under the arch and stays there. Someone has mended the elbow of Milo's tunic in green thread. His boots are new this month and still too big. A groom straightens his collar for him going past. 2 first-years crouch down to ask about the road. Milo tells them about a heron in the mill ditch. The steel blue boy laughs, and it is a kind laugh. An instructor crossing the yard says the boy's name and nods. Everyone here is good to Milo, and Milo makes it easy. He finishes the bread and wipes his hands on his knees. He works the whole morning and hums through it. At noon, the cook brings him a bowl and stays. Milo says something and she laughs into her sleeve. 2 floors up a register has Milo's name under Kai's. The kid keeps his back against the stone of the arch. There is a new winter coat in the cart for Milo. Milo climbs onto the tailgate at 2 o'clock. He waves at the cook. He waves at the grooms. He waves at the arch, where somebody is standing. Kai lifts a hand once and lets it drop. The cart goes down the road and the dust settles. Kai is still under the arch a long time after. South of the river, the family holds 400 acres. 2 guards stand at the gate and 1 walks the wall. A man is paid to rake the gravel every morning. Tenants come up the drive on quarter day, hats in hand. Vance signs the rent book at a desk by the window. His coat is wine red with silver frogging down both sides. In March, the tailor takes the coat in at the waist. In April, he chalks a new line further over. Sandy blonde hair, pale blue eyes, and gray under both. Vance eats half of what the kitchen sends up. In May, a groom starts walking his hunter around the paddock. The stairs to the upper floor take Vance 3 stops. He rests a hand flat on the wall at each landing. He takes the banister in both hands to get up the last 3. A doctor comes from the capital and stays 2 days. He listens to Vance's chest through a wooden tube. He finds a strong heart and good lungs. He carries his bag down the steps to the coach. A second doctor blames the well, and 6 men dig it out. The water comes up clean and cold. The family mage lays both hands on Vance's chest and holds them. The core under his palms burns hot and steady. He tells the house it is the healthiest core he has ever touched. Tessa moves into the room across the hall in July. Auburn waves, green eyes, and a lamp she keeps lit. She reads to Vance until his eyes shut. She counts his breaths and loses the count twice. In the morning, she brings the ledger up to his bed. Vance's holds the pen, and the line comes out crooked. In the Capitol, a man leans on a balcony rail above the square. Crimson scales to the elbow, black long coat, heat off his shoulders. Emberwing watches the crowning platform go up below him. The tailor's chalk is still on the wine-red coat. It hangs over the chair back through the whole of August. 2 days later, the estate cart is on the Roost Road again. The road unrolls behind Milo's boots on the tailgate. Kai is up on the gate wall with a mortar bucket. He has been patching the coping stones since first bell. The road under him runs straight for a quarter mile. A wagon stands in the gorse where the road bends. 2 men sit still on the box. A third leans on the wheel with a folded paper. The man opens a copied register line and checks it against Milo's face. "That's him," the man says. "Driver first." The 3 come out of the gorse at a walk. Cudgels, heavy gloves, and a crate in the wagon bed. The crate is the length of a boy. The cart driver goes off the box in one swing. Milo is over the tailgate and into the ditch. Milo runs the way small boys run, badly and fast. A rope goes out and takes his ankle. The boy comes down flat on the gravel. Kai lets go of the mortar bucket. He is off the coping before the bucket lands. In the yard, 41st years, stop the drill and turn. Our boy covers the quarter-mile in 4 seconds. The men hear him coming and turn around too late. Kai takes Mylo off the gravel by the back of his tunic. The rope tears out of a gloved hand. Mylo's boots go past a man's ear. Then Kai finds out what a boy weighs. The weight swings under his left side and stays there. Kai has never turned with a weight in his arms. He goes over the roost wall wide by 3 coping stones. Kai lets Mylo down onto the sand and keeps going. Mylo rolls twice and comes up sitting. A groom has him under both arms in a second. The kitchen door takes the boy and shuts. Mylo sees a shoulder, a wing, and the sand. Kai turns back over the wall onto the road. The 3 men are already up on the wagon box. The horses go from a stand to a gallop. Kai comes down the road after them, low and flat. The kid is faster than the wagon by half again. The road bends inland, and the roost wall bends with it. The wagon takes the outside of the bend. Kai cuts the inside of it to head the horses off. He has come round this corner at a walk every week. He has never come round it at this speed. 10 feet out, Key drops a shoulder into the turn. He leans on a weight that is over the wall now. The lean carries further than he means it to. His near wing comes across the front instead of under. The turn does not arrive. Green-gray stone fills the whole front of him. Kai goes into it straight, still at full speed. The wall holds. The sound goes over the coping into the yard. Coping dust comes down the face of the stone. Kai comes off the stone and lands on the road. A block the size of a loaf lands beside his head. His left arm points the wrong way below the elbow. 3 slate scales lie on the gravel next to it. Blood spreads into the sand under his shoulder. One side of his chest stays flat when he breathes. Kai lies on his back and looks at the sky. 41st years stay behind the gate and watch. The instructor stands in the archway holding her whistle. She keeps it in her hand. Kai rolls onto his good side. He puts the bad arm against his ribs and sets it. The sound of that makes a first-year sit down. He gets one knee under him. He gets the other one under him. Then Key stands up on the roost road. Blood runs off his fingers and taps on the stone. The kid walks in through the gate on his own legs. He keeps his eyes on the sand going past. The line of first years opens to let him through. Kai stops at the trough and looks into the water. The boy in the water can be stopped. 41st years know it now, and so does Kai. Kai stands at the wash trough with both hands on the rim. His left sleeve is gone and his shirt hangs open. Grit is set into the side of his jaw. The arm he set himself is strapped flat against his ribs. Behind him the year stands on the stones, still talking about Mylo. Then something goes through our boy. Gold for about a second. Gold runs flat across the stones and over 40 boots. It sits in the trough water and along the wet rope. It lights the underside of the arch and the gate. Then the yard is gray again. Kai is in the same place on the same stones. The sleeve is still gone above the elbow. The grit is still set into his jaw. His wings hang at the same span. 3 scales are still missing from his left forearm. The scar in the middle of his chest is dark. The instructor is standing very still at the rope stand. She takes the whistle off its cord and closes a fist on it. The violet girl has both hands over her mouth. The steel blue boy's mouth is open and stays open. A bucket goes over by the kitchen door and rolls. It comes to rest against the step. A door opens on the far side and stays open. Doran and Greta come out and stop on the step. The copper-curled boy is standing very still. That boy looks at Kai's hands, then at the stones. The whole yard is doing arithmetic behind its teeth. The plaqueboard is bolted beside the hall door. Small painted plaques run left to right along it. The plaque for the hold has a chipped corner and a brass pin. Half the yard is looking at that plaque instead of at the kid. Most dragons alive reach the hold and stay there for good. The instructor reached it 200 years ago. She is at the rope stand with her whistle. Doran and Greta are on that plaque too. Doran counts something off on his fingers. 10 weeks, Doran says out loud. Greta does the sum again herself. Kai turns his hands over and looks at them. He pushes the good sleeve up past his elbow. The bare gaps in the scales are exactly as bare. He rolls his shoulders and the wings answer the same. He presses 2 fingers into the cut on his jaw. Kai waits for something to arrive. The yard noise comes back instead. A groom shouts across the yard about the bucket. The instructor blows the whistle and the year stands there. She blows it again and the year goes back. They line up in the wrong order and she lets it go. The instructor looks at our boy's strapped arm, then at the board. This morning that arm came off a wall in front of the year. This afternoon the same boy locked in a rung most of them will never reach. She coils the rope on her arm and calls the drill. In the line, nobody on either side of Key says a word. The violet girl starts to say something to him and stops. The steel blue boy stays quiet the whole hour. A boy who laughed in the myth room holds the rope for Kai. That boy keeps his eyes on the rope. At the end of the hour, the yard empties toward the hall. The instructor stays out on the stones. She walks over to the board beside the hall door. She puts her thumb on the hold and leaves it there. The lamps come on in the hall windows behind her. In the dormitory that night, the year argues about what it saw. The kid lies on his bunk with the torn coat over the rail. The violet girl says it was gold, and then it was over. The steel blue boy says the instructor must have counted the weeks wrong. They saw 1 second of gold and a boy with a torn sleeve. Both of those are true, and only one of them is small. Trial 2 runs out in the yard this time. Iron pans stand in a line across the packed sand, one each. Each pan holds 2 inches of seawater. The broad, plum-scaled instructor kicks each pan straight. She carries a wax tablet and an iron stylus. "Boil it," she says. "Keep it boiling. Sit when you're done." The last pan still steaming takes the trial. The yard bell rings the hour, and she cuts 1 mark for each. The wall benches along the yard fill up early. Behind them a door stands open onto the instructor's corridor. Benches run down it, and the year's humans sit there. Blankets, bread, a pot of hot cordial going up the row. That corridor is what the yard is really watching today. A dragon can only put out what his own human makes back. Kai's bench is empty. His stable boy is an hour inland. The benches have already sorted the line into the order it falls. The bell goes at 9 and 40 pans start steaming. White steam climbs the wall to the second-story windows. For a quarter hour it looks like a laundry. Then the far end of the line goes quiet. A boy in last place sits back on his heels. His water goes flat and gray and stops moving. The instructor turns his pan upside down on the sand. That is the whole ceremony. Upside down means out. The bell goes. She cuts a second mark. By the third mark, 11 pans lie on their faces. The indigo boy holds on with his forehead on the rim. Sweat runs off his chin into his own water. His scales have gone the color of wet paper. He stands, walks 4 steps, and sits against the wall. The steel blue boy makes the 4th mark and goes over sideways. 2 instructors carry him out with his wings dragging. At noon, the cordial pot goes down the corridor again. 6 humans sleep on the benches with their mouths open. Out on the sand, 22 pans are upside down. The violet girl is still going, and going neatly. At 1:30, her water drops off the boil. She sits down on the sand with both palms flat. The instructor turns her pan and cuts a mark. By 2 o'clock, 4 pans are still steaming. 3 belong to boys whose families own ships. The 4th is the copper-curled boy at the top of the year. His water has rolled hard and even for 5 hours. The ship boys go out one after another before 3. Then there are 2 pans in a yard built for 40. The copper-curled boy and our boy, 40 feet apart. The benches come to their feet for this on their own. The copper-curled boy holds another hour and holds it well. At 4:10, he lifts his hands off the rim. He fetches his coat and looks down the line at Kai. Then he sits on a bench to watch, which is worse. The instructor turns his pan and cuts the mark. 1 pan is still boiling, alone on the bare sand. Kai is standing in the 2 footprints he made at 9. He is doing it badly, and he is doing it anyway. Skill went out of this trial hours ago, and Kai never had it. The trial has simply gone on long enough to stop asking. The bell goes at 5 and at 6, and she marks both. The benches go in for supper and bring their bowls back. At 7, the light goes orange along the wall top. Kai's water is still rolling hard enough to jump the rim. The instructor looks at the wax, then at the pan. She puts the stylus down on the bench beside her. The bell goes at 8 and she leaves the wax alone. Her mouth is open and she has forgotten about it. She has run this trial in this yard for 19 years. She looks at our boy the way you watch weather coming in. Then she sits down on the end of a bench, still looking. The yard goes dark around 1 pan of boiling water. At 8:30, she stands up and says stop. Kai lifts his hands off the rim and the water settles. She writes 1 line and shuts the tablet on it. 39 pans lie upside down the length of the yard. She leaves the 40th standing where it is. Then she walks in and leaves the benches to decide. Next morning, the long table has a gap at his end. Kai sits, and three boys discover they have finished eating. They carry full bowls to the far end and start again. In the corridor, two second years are laughing about something. The kid turns the corner and the laugh stops on the word. Both of them nod at him, which is new. The violet girl steps out of a doorway to let him through. At the trough, the broken-toothed boy starts the baby voice. His friend puts a hand on his arm and he stops. An instructor stops our boy to ask how his arm is. That instructor has walked past that arm since March. Kai sits in the middle of the bench one supper to see. It takes about 4 minutes. That night he goes up to the myth room. Greta has liniment out and is working it into her knuckles. She has heard about the pans. Everyone has heard. Kai asks her what the advanced forms actually need. The advanced forms take a decade, Greta says. She says it to her own knuckles and keeps rubbing. 10 years of drill before your hands know it themselves. The kid tells her he can start tonight. Greta laughs and then looks up at him and stops. Then she goes back to her knuckles and lets him stand. 2 second years settle a challenge on the drill hall floor. A master chalks a ring around them. A proper challenge at this roost has a chalk ring, a witness, and a written ruling. The chalk gets scuffed out, and the men coming for keys skip all 3. Tuesday, the corridor behind the wash house. Wet stone, low ceiling, steam off the coppers. Our boy carries a folded coat under one arm. A thin man steps out of the drawing room. Deep rose scales, a hired coat, boot heels on wet stone. This man is 30 and he fights for a fee. The knife goes into Kai's shoulder from the side. Kai turns into it and lifts the man off his feet. Copper pans come down on top of them both. The man gets one hand up and Kai takes the arm. 4 seconds and no technique anywhere in it. Then Kai stands in the steam and waits. An instructor opens the storeroom door down the corridor. She sees the man on the floor and the pans. She steps back inside and pulls the door shut. The latch drops and stays down. Then the kid lifts his coat off the wet stone. The thin man is off roost ground by breakfast. A challenge ends in a ruling. This ends in a shut door. They come for money and they come for an answer. One story says a capital house bred him on purpose. Another says a mage sold Kai a second core for a fortune. Both stories are wrong and both are cheap enough to test. Whoever puts Kai down can sell the answer for years. Thursday there are 2 of them on the north stair. A woman with a shaved head and black scales. She is 40 and she has done this for years. Behind her a heavy young man in a butcher's oilcloth. Violet scales to the elbow, old blood on the cloth. The woman drops low and locks up Kai's knees. The butcher swings a hammer over the top of her. They have run this pairing before and the timing shows it. The hammer lands on Kai's collarbone and stops there. Kai puts a flat hand on the butcher's chest. The butcher goes through the stair rail into the hall. Kai whops the woman backwards into the wall until she drops. Plaster comes off the stonework in one sheet. She gets up twice, slower the second time. The third time she stays down and watches. A master crosses the hall below with an armful of books. The master steps over the butcher and keeps going. 2 more masters at the gallery rail turn to the window. By Friday the kid takes the long way to class, drilling Greta's forms. On the 9th day they stop coming in 1s and 2s. 5 of them wait on the flight cliffs at dusk. An old man with a blackthorn stick and a bad hip. 2 brothers in matching gray coats, plum scales, heavy arms. A boy no older than Kai in an oversized coat, watching. A soldier with cropped hair who has done this before. They spread out along the launching shelf. Kai comes up the cliff path with a coil of rope. Kai counts 5 of them and keeps climbing. The soldier hits him first, low and fast. The brothers come in from both sides together. Our boy gets an arm through one brother and drops him. The second brother grabs a fistful of Kai's wing. Ki drags that brother along the shelf until the grip tears. The old man's stick catches Kai across the shoulder. Kai takes it and keeps his feet under him. The soldier is good, and the soldier is the problem. The soldier puts Kai on his back 3 times. Kai gets up 3 times, faster on the 3rd. None of this is skill, and every man here can tell. It is fuel, it is speed, and it holds. The soldier lands 3 clean blows and Kai does not move. In the fourth minute, the soldier stops because it stops mattering. The old man leaves his stick lying on the stone. Then the sea below the shelf turns the wrong color. Gold comes off Kai and runs flat over the water. It lights the gorse, the shelf, and 5 faces. Then the dust comes back gray. Kai stands on the shelf with his hands open. The 5 of them look for a change and find the same boy. Same slate wings, same torn shirt, same dark scar. The soldier is old enough to know what that gold means. Men in that trade learn the plaque names before the fees. The soldier says the third name out loud, at dusk. The name of that rung is in 3 towns by morning. The old man goes and sits down on the stone. The boy Kai's age walks off down the cliff path. The soldier picks his coat up and follows the others down. Kai comes back through the roost gate near midnight. Under the hall window, 3 students are still awake. The violet girl, an indigo boy, a second year with a cracked lens. They have been on Kai's side for about a month. Until tonight, they talk about the crowning like a tide coming in. Tonight, they talk about it like a thing that could be stopped. The violet girl says a date out loud and counts on her fingers. Kai stands in the dark below them and lets them finish. Then Kai goes up the stair to the dormitory. The kitchen is banked and the stairwell is warm. Kai stops on the second landing with a hand on the wall. The heat comes up past him and he stays cold. His mouth tastes like a coin. The last pans go quiet in the kitchen below and he stays. Then Kai climbs the last flight in the dark. The morning after trial 2, the instructor carries the tablet across the yard. 11.5 hours of marks cut into wax. She goes up the stair to the upper offices. She has run that trial for 19 years. This is the first tablet she has ever carried upstairs. 3 masters sit at a long dark desk. A lamp, an inkstand, and the roostier records. She sets the tablet down in front of them. The first master reads it and passes it sideways. The second master reads it and says nothing at all. Every master here knows that output is capped by the human. 40 iron pans, 1 first year, 11.5 hours boiling. That is more manna than a bonded human makes in a week. The third master opens the year records at March. His finger goes down the column and stops on key. The third master reads that line twice. Then the third master sends a boy for the gate register. The boy goes, and the 3 of them wait. The bag pulls shut, and the knot takes a lead seal. It goes up the coast that same afternoon. 1 sheet of paper and a copy of the wax marks. A courier takes the coast road before dark. 4 days later, the paper is in the capital. A white hall, a cold gold ceiling, tall windows. Emberwing reads it standing at the middle window. Dark red hair, crimson scales, the air bending with heat. He reads the pan count and the hour count. Then Emberwing stops moving. The heat shimmer around him goes flat. 900 years old, and he was in that hall. A boy's core read out at 0 on a winter night. He has heard 10 in 900 years. The paper in his hand describes a well that keeps giving. A steward comes to the window for an order. Emberwing folds the paper along its old crease. Emberwing puts it inside his coat. The steward waits, then turns and goes back down the hall. Emberwing stands at that window until the lamps are lit. Word comes back down the coast inside a week. 2 examiners ride in through the roost arch. Plain dark coats, muted plum scales, saddlebags full of paper. They have come to audit 1 first year's register entry. An audit is simple. Find the human and put a hand on him. Name, town, date, and a living body to match. The examiners take the small room off the upper offices. They send for the keeper and the gate register. The keeper brings the book up under one arm. Indigo scales, ink on his fingers, spectacles pushed up. The register goes on the table, open at March. By noon, they mean to send a rider for Mwylo. Out in the yard, the cohort already knows. 41st years crowd that stair, and the soldier waits at the gate. Then Orla comes up the roost road. Gold wings, black gown, boots loud on the stones. She crosses the yard and takes the stair. She opens the examiner's door with her shoulder. The 3 masters are already inside the room. The keeper stands at the table with the register. Kai is against the wall where they put him, shoulders still bandaged. Nobody has asked our boy a question yet. Orlo walks to the table and turns the book around. She puts 1 finger on the word Mwylo. That is my human, Orlu says. That is my handwriting, and it always was. The keeper looks at the page, then at her. This dragon has no human at all, Orlu says. Kai has never had one, not for a day. Orlu taps the wax tablet lying on the table. That is advanced tier output, Orlu says. It is coming out of a dragon with a blank line. Her voice stays exactly where it was. She stands there with her hands at her sides. The room takes about 3 seconds to move. The second master stands, and his chair goes over backwards. The keeper closes the register with both hands. The older examiner puts her pen down flat. The younger examiner goes out the door at a run. His boots take the stair 3 at a time. The younger examiner is fetching somebody far more senior. The lie is the small problem in this room. A dragon with no human runs dry in about a month. The keeper taps the March date with one knuckle. Kai signed that register line in March. It is the far end of the year now. The kid has been climbing the whole way through it. The third master sits back down very carefully. The instructor turns her wax tablet face down. 11.5 hours of seawater on a blank register line. The keeper takes his spectacles off and holds them. The older examiner asks Orlu how long she has known. R looks at the examiner and lets the question sit. The door stands open and the corridor is full. Copper curls, hazel eyes, bronze scales, forest green roost coat. Aldrich is top of the cohort and everyone's measuring stick. Aldrich has watched Kai all year from the back rows. Possib part AWAJAC from the doorway. Then what has he been burning? Nobody in the upper offices answers Aldrich. Kai looks at the floor between his own boots. Our boy has no answer either, and that is the worst part. The keeper draws one line through the word Milo. Under Kai's name there is a struck word and clean paper. The lie that got Kai through the arch is finished. What replaces the lie is worse than the lie. Kai is the only one of his kind on record. 40 faces in the corridor, all turned one way. Kai walks out through them and the corridor opens. The examiner's door closes and the corridor empties. Orlu comes down the stair with her gown in one hand. Kai follows her out through the arch onto the gravel. Her trap waits at the gate in the wind. Orla stops beside the wheel and stands there. Ask it, Orlu says. Kai asks why she took him at all. Orla turns her face into the morning light. The wind lifts the hair off her temple. 2 hairs at that temple are white. Kai has been looking at that temple since March. Kai took it for chalk dust off the register desk. 3 scales on her left forearm have gone flat. One is lifted at the edge like a nail. A crease beside her mouth stays after she stops talking. Orla watches the kid find all 3 and lets him finish. I have started to age, Orlu says. Dragons do not age. Orlu holds the forearm out flat in the light. The good scales throw the light straight back. The 3 flat ones take it and keep it. 400 years, Orlu says. This started 9 years ago. Kai asks her what makes it stop. A bigger core, Orlu says. That is the only answer. A dragon burns what his human makes, and a big core burns longer. Her own human is a 12-year-old stable boy with a cowlick. Milo is small, and a small core has a ceiling. So I went shopping, Orlu says. Cores get graded in front of everybody, once a year. The families call it a ceremony, and the high seeds call it stock. Orlu sat up there that night with a figure decided. She had the money for the best core in that hall. Orla rode home with every coin of it still on her. 4 hours later, she kneels in a pine clearing. Our boy sits in the needles, hours old, wings shut. You have no human, Orlu says. You never did. And you make more than any human alive. She says it the way a buyer reads a figure. Kai stands on the gravel and lets her finish. Understand how you do it, and I stopped needing a core. That is what you were to me. You were the way out. The roost is a purchase, and the drills are upkeep. She put a name in that gateboat to keep him climbing. The horse shifts and the trap rocks once. Orla puts a hand flat on the wheel rim. I burned my own name in that room an hour ago, Orlu says. I did that because you climb faster inside these walls. Kai asks her if she is sorry. No, Orlu says. She does not look away and lets the words stand. I am not asking to be forgiven. I am telling you the price. Then Orla steps up into the trap. She lifts the reins off the hook herself. Our boy stands in the gravel with the arch at his back. The trap goes out onto the gate road at a walk. Kai stays where he is until the wheels stop sounding. The gate officer watches from his box, register shut. By supper, nobody is talking about the register. The sentence going round the long table is 6 words. A dragon can live without a human. Off the yard steps is the instructor's corridor and its benches. Tonight a girl mends a coat there and a man reads. Somebody decided each of them would be sitting there. Doran carries his supper past that door and keeps walking. Doran comes back 4 minutes later and stops there. Doran has taught in this building for 30 years. On Thursday, 6 second years go up to the master's offices. Coats brushed, one of them holding a paper written last night. The one with the paper reads it aloud without hurrying. The paper asks for key off roost ground before the crowning. The one reason it gives is what the kid proves. Out in the corridor, 3 of the 6 stand very close. That same week the benches start moving. 2 masters have theirs carried out into the yard. A third has a room opened upstairs for his human. By Saturday, 2 stacks of benches stand against the yard wall. One stack is chest high, the other is 4 benches. Everyone here walks between those 2 stacks twice a day. In Greta's class, a boy asks something off the page. He asks whether the linking was ever necessary. Greta closes the book with her thumb still inside it. Greta looks at him a while, then goes back to the forms. Her hand stays flat on the cover until the bell. On the 4th night, Aldrich comes down the hall. Copper curls, bronze scales, forest green coat with a braided cuff. Aldrich sets his bowl down opposite Kai and sits. Mine is 9, Aldrich says. I picked her out of a village. Aldrich says it down at the table past our boy. 2 second years lift their plates and move away. A third stays where she is and keeps eating. The violet girl comes over and sits on Kai's side. The hall is quieter at the end of that meal. 9 of the year's 41st years stop using the yard. They drill on the north field, out past the wash house. At first bell, the yard holds 12 students and sand. Kai crosses to the middle of the sand and hangs his coat. From the yard, he can see the road the capital sits on. The road runs flat and gray between the gorse. The crowning is at the far end and the date is set. Kai counts the days to the crowning and gets a small number. The gray road is the only way to reach it. The assay house sits behind the kitchens, shuttered all year. Trial 3 decides who stands at the crowning, so they open it. One long room, smoke-dark plaster, a soft-board floor. A beam crosses the room under the low ceiling. 3 iron bells hang along that beam. Each bell has a rung name cut into its shoulder. There are 5 rung names, and every first year knows them. In here there are 3 bells and a bear hook. They took the 4th bell for its medal a century back. The assessor comes up from the Capitol on the cart. Old, plum scales, gray mustache, a coat with many pockets. He opens a flat wooden case on the trestle. Ink, a sand shaker, 1 printed sheet per first year. Stand on the mark, he says. Push, hands down. The last bell to answer is the name on your sheet. The year goes through in an hour. Most of them ring the first bell and stop. 11 reach the hold, which is a good career. The violet girl rings it and gets a clap. Aldrich goes second to last and rings the hold clean. The 3rd bell turns a quarter and settles. High is called last, the way he always is. 4 students stand up and go out the door. Our boy stands on the mark, hands at his sides. The room behind him stops talking on its own. Gret, too, is at the back with her canvas bag. Aldrich stays where he is, against the wall. Kai pushes. The first bell goes off like somebody kicked it. The hold rings a half beat behind it. The 3rd bell answers before the 2nd has finished. All 3 run together and fill the low room. Then the 3rd bell cracks across its lip. Dust comes off the beam in a line. The bear hook swings out to the end. The bells stop and the hook keeps going. Every dragon in the room watches the hook instead. The assessor stands over his sheet, pen wet. The reach answered and the reach is in pieces. He writes the reach and then stops writing. He puts a line through it and turns it over. What do I put, he says, to the room. Greta looks at the beam and the masters look at the floor. The assessor writes 1 sentence where a name should go. He folds that sheet alone into his coat. Then he asks the kid to push once more. Kai sets his feet and does it again. Gold comes off him and floods the low room. You have seen that gold 3 times now. The gold goes out and something else stays behind. Kai's true form comes up on its own. A true form arrives when a thing is trying to kill you. In this room there is an old man and a beam. Our boy comes up the size of a bull. The beam takes his shoulder and cracks. The plating over his chest stands apart in the middle. Light comes out through the gaps where his body should be. That light is cold and white. Hairline cracks run out of the hollow across the plate. A second pair of wings sits behind the first. They open partway and hang, folded wrong at the joint. The assessor is on the floor under his case. Aldrich hauls a boy out by the collar. The violet girl backs into the door frame. A master gets a shutter open and climbs out. Greta comes 3 steps forward and stops herself. Her hand goes up and comes back down. She looks at the gaps in him the way you look at a wound. Somebody outside starts running and keeps running. The light off him lies flat on the ceiling. It moves when he breathes, and that is the bad part. Then the kid drops down and comes back a boy. He kneels there with the wrecked trestle beside him. The hollow in his chest is lit from the inside. It comes through his shirt like a lamp under a sheet. That scar has been dark and cold for 8 months. Now it is the brightest thing in the room. Kai covers it, and the light comes around his fingers. The assessor goes out and leaves his case. After dark, Greta finds our boy on the assay house step. She sets the bag down and takes 6 books out. The 7th is the thin one with the warped boards. She holds the thin one out to him. Books at that end have stayed shut for him all year. Kai puts a thumb under the board and it opens. The drill still takes a decade, Greta says. She stands, gathers her 6, and leaves him the 7th. Kai sits on the step with the page open. The light out of his chest is enough to read by. Rain comes down after midnight on a pine clearing above the roost. Our boy comes up the path into the clearing alone. He forces the 11 syllables Greta said would take a decade. Every drop in the clearing stops where it is. The rain hangs in the dark like glass beads. Kai walks forward through water that hangs at head height. He touches one drop and it holds against his finger. This is the tear the myth class calls a story. Then Kai lets it go and the clearing empties at once. Kai goes down on one knee in wet needles. Kai spits into the needles and the coin taste stays. Under his shirt, the light in the hollow drops. Morning in the yard, and the whole year is drilling. 2 dragons haul a stone press across the sand. Their humans sit along the low wall with bread. The steel blue boy takes a whole press end alone. His human yawns and shifts along the warm stone. Those humans eat, sleep, and turn up tomorrow unchanged. Our boy stands at the fence and counts along the wall. Every dragon on the sand has 1 person up there. Behind Kai, the wall is bare stone and gorse. Kai walks to the well in the corner of the yard. He winds the bucket up and the rope steams where he grips. The water sits at the same ring of dark stone. He drops it and winds it up a second time. Same ring and the same weight on the rope. The roost draws on that well twice a day, every day. Kai opens 2 buttons and looks down his own shirt. The light in the hollow sits lower than last night. He looks from the water to his own chest. Then Kai lets the rope go. The bucket falls a long way and hits. An instructor asks whether he is finished with the well. Kai says the water is fine and steps away. He buttons the shirt to the throat and walks to class. Light shows through the linen where the buttons gap. That night the kid climbs back up to the clearing. It rains, and he says the 11 syllables again. The whole clearing stops in the air around him. This time Kai holds it and counts to 30. Then he lets go and the rain lands together. Kai kneels in the needles with his head down. The hollow under his shirt sits lower than the morning. Kai takes the path down with one hand on the trees. It lights less of the path than it did last night. The myth room at dawn, 7 books on the desk. Key has drilled the same form for 11 weeks. Greta sits with her reading lenses pushed up. The form Gratua gave him is a door he can shut. Every dragon leaks a little of what it makes, every hour, awake or asleep. Kai has leaked since the clearing and has never once been able to stop it. His chair has scorch marks on both arms. He puts his hands flat on the desk. He closes the form the way Greta taught him. Then the room stops moving. The candle flame goes straight up and holds. The curl comes out of the paper edges. Greta puts a hand out near his wrist and feels ordinary morning air. This is the first thing in his life he has ever been able to switch off. A moth sits on the cold window ledge. Kai puts a finger under it and lifts. The moth walks onto his knuckle and stays. He carries it to the window and lets go. That is the hold, Greta says. It does nothing. Nobody in the room says that Kai has never once been safe to touch. Kai closes his fist on a river stone and it stays cold. Then the tournament bell goes somewhere below the window. The arena is a pale sand oval under banners. You lose a bout the moment you stop putting anything out. Myth forms are barred inside a sanctioned ring, and everyone knows it. The humans box sits inside the ring. 12 chairs, 12 humans, a rail at knee height. The box sits inside the ring on purpose, and every family knows why. A black-scaled man in a gray jacket opens the day. He crosses the sand straight past his opponent. He puts one hand on a woman's shoulder at the rail. The woman goes rigid in her chair. Across the oval, his opponent's fire drops out. 9 seconds, and the judges write it down clean. The stands clap the way people clap good driving. This is legal, it is taught, and it has been the fast answer for centuries. Second bout, a plum-scaled woman in a canvas coat. She lifts a human man out of his chair. She holds the man at arm's length and waits. Her opponent kneels on the sand and gives it up. The judges keep their pens flat on the table. She sets the man back in his chair, politely. The man thanks her, because that is the custom. Kai's bout at 10 runs a minute and ends. Our boy works the far rail the whole time. The near stand boos a bout it finds boring. The stands want the dragon with nothing to lose to take somebody's human. Kai has no human, so nobody can do it back to him. The semi-final goes on at 2 o'clock. Kai's opponent is a tall indigo man, shipping money. He is trained, he is fast, and he ends bouts at the rail. His human sits second chair from the end. An old man in a brown coat, hat on his knees. The old man watches Kai instead of the sand. First exchange, and the indigo man opens Kai's cheek. The second puts Kai into the rail. Kai comes off the rail beside the old man. The chair is inside his reach. The near stand comes up out of its seats. This is the thing the building is waiting for. Kai looks at the hat on the old knees. Then Kai turns and walks back onto the sand. The noise coming down has an edge in it. A man throws his hat onto the sand. The whistling starts near and spreads around. Kai keeps the reason to himself then and afterwards, and nobody ever hears it. Then he goes at the indigo man the long way. Chest to chest on open sand, all fuel. The indigo man is better, and it shows. 6 minutes in, Kai's left arm hangs. The kid takes hits he could walk around. The whistling thins at 9 minutes. Whistling is work, and they have been at it a quarter hour. At 12 minutes, people are sitting down again. Kai's shirt has gone brown around the hollow. The light through the cloth drops a step every time he spins, and stays down. Kai gets both arms around the indigo man. At 18 minutes, the indigo man goes up. Kai goes up after him, badly, and catches an ankle. They come down together, and Kai lands on top. The indigo man's output goes out under him. A judge walks out and touches Kai's shoulder. 21 minutes for a bout available in 9 seconds. Our boy stands, and the sand under him has gone to glass. The near stand is on its feet, and this time the arena is silent. Behind him, the 12 humans in the box stand up. The old man holds his hat in both hands. Kai walks into the tunnel and sits on the step. The final goes on at 5, sun low. Aldrich comes out with his coat already off. Copper curls, bronze scales, 11 straight bouts behind him. Aldrich is the best dragon of his year and has earned it. His human takes the first chair in the box. A woman in brown wool with a bronze pin. Aldrich crosses the sand and offers his hand. Kai shuts the leak off before he takes it. Aldrich's hand comes away unmarked and he notices. Then Aldrich puts him down in 12 seconds, then in 6. Aldrich has technique the way other men have height, and it is not close. Every opening our boy leaves, Aldrich is already inside. The woman keeps her hands folded in her lap. She is 4 steps from Kai every exchange. Everyone here can see where the easy win is sitting, and Kai walks around it. 40 minutes, and Aldrich has taken every exchange. Kai stops trying to be better than Aldrich, which is the only honest plan left. Aldrich's woman pulls her shawl up in a warm arena. A house doctor sets a hot brick under her feet. At 90 minutes, her breath fogs in warm air. A dragon spends what his human makes, and a human makes it at 1 speed. Aldrich's edges go first, the way good hands do. The kid fights exactly as badly at 7 as at 5. He spends past the end of Aldrich's supply and out of himself. The woman's lips go the color of candle wax. Aldrich looks over at the box between exchanges. Then Aldrich looks at her again, and that is the ending. At 1 hour and 40, Aldrich steps back and puts his hand up. He says the word himself before a judge reaches for it. Aldrich walks to the box and lifts his human. He carries her past the judges with his eyes down. That is the best dragon of his generation, taking the smaller of 2 losses. The stands stand up for Aldrich, and they are right. Kai is alone in the middle of the oval. The light through his shirt has sunk to a thin line. He wins the one way nobody in this building is able to copy. Aldrich comes back for his coat and stops. Why the long way? Aldrich says. Kai says nothing, and Aldrich takes his coat and goes. In the tunnel, the woman catches Kai's sleeve. Kai turns the leak off before her fingers close. She holds onto the cloth, and our boy tells her nothing. Then Kai walks out through the tunnel into the cold. 2 rings of glass cool on the raked sand. Orlu is waiting at the tunnel mouth with her coat on. Kai walks past her, and Orlu falls in beside him. The roost closes its season in the high hall. Ivory stone, hanging lamps, a dark circle set in the floor. Every hall that matters is built to the same plan. The gallery hangs above the floor with the high seats along it. The dragons who pay for this school sit in those seats. Violet, steel blue, indigo, black, and plum in a row. 41st years go down and stand in the circle. Green coats, hands at their sides, chins up. Orlu comes through the gallery door and stays above. Gold to the elbow, black gown, wings half open. Kai comes in 1 step behind Orlu. A steward pulls a second chair out to the gallery edge. The kid sits down level with Orlu's shoulder. It is 3 weeks since the arena and his cheek has closed. Every dragon along the gallery turns towards Ki. The 2 nearest lean forward about an inch. The steward carries the name card up the gallery stairs. The steward holds it out and Ki takes it. This is the gold dragon who called Ki empty at the ceremony. Orlu sets a glass on a ledge beside his hand. Orlu watches the floor and Kai watches it with her. The hall stands, and the first years file out below. Orlu's room above the yard is warm and paneled. A cream card with a gold edge lies on the desk. It is face down, and it has been for 2 days. Every house in the capital has an invitation like it now. Orlu turns the card over with 1 finger, then back. A slate gray court coat hangs on the back of the door. Inside the front of it is a second layer of black cloth. The light through his shirt is the same light the arena watched. Kai puts the coat on and fastens it across the chest. The doubled panel takes that light down to a dull line. Arla pulls a black traveling cloak on over the gown. They come into the capital on the North Road at noon. Tall gray houses, washing lines, laundry moving overhead. The North Gate guards wave the pair straight through. Our boy comes back up the middle of the road. Orlu walks on his left and keeps to his pace. 2 carters pull their horses over to the wall. A woman on a step stops sweeping to watch them. Slate wings and gold wings, 1 street wide enough. The Capitol Hall is white and gold under a high roof. A carpet runs the length of it to a raised seat. Guests line both galleries above the floor. A herald stands at the door and calls the arrivals in. The herald knows Orlu on sight and does not ask. A clerk opens the visitor book on the door table. The clerk turns back 3 pages, and then 3 more. This city keeps a page on every dragon that matters. The clerk rules a fresh line and holds his pen on it. Orla tells him to write down the slate 1. The herald calls Orlu, and then the slate 1. Both galleries turn to the door together. 2 house guards step out of the way and stand aside. A count and his wife stop on the carpet to let the kid pass. Eberwing sits in a chair near the dais. A black long coat over crimson scales, heat coming off him. Emberwing looks at the door once, then back to his conversation. A footman crosses behind Kai with a tray of glasses. The footman's heel catches the carpet edge and the tray goes. Kai has it flat in 1 hand before a glass tips. Kai hands the tray back and the footman bows twice. Half the near gallery is looking at Kai's hand. The light in the hollow comes up brighter and stays up. A line of it shows at the seam of the doubled panel. Kai's color goes between one breath and the next. Kai puts a hand on the door frame to stay standing. The wood takes the shape of his fingers and holds it. Kai puts 2 fingers on his sternum, steadies the line, and says nothing. Along the wall, a tailor pins a white and gold coat. It stands on a frame and it is cut for the crowning. Our boy looks at the coat for a moment and then at Vance. Vance sits in a chair beside it in wine red. Silver frogging and padding built into both shoulders now. His face is gray and gone in at the cheeks. Vance's collar stands off his neck by a finger. A valet holds a boot with a lift fitted inside it. Tessa is up and working the room in emerald green. She brings Vance a smile, then crosses the floor to Arla. Tessa gives Ki her full name and asks for his. Orlu says the boy keeps his name to himself. Tsu laughs at that, warm, and lets it go. She says the Capitol has asked about the Slate One all week. Vance gets up out of the chair using both arms. Vance crosses to Key and puts a hand out. Kai takes it, and his hand stays cool the whole time. The ring on Vance's finger turns loose all the way around. Vance says the doctors are calling it nerves. Vance asks whether Orlu knows a physician worth having. The man wearing Kai's core is asking Kai for help. Kai says he will ask her and stops there. TESS touches Kai's sleeve and asks about the front seats. She would like the family place where the crowd can see. Kai steps back half a step and keeps the coat shut. TESO reads that as manners and turns it into a joke. To Vanza and TESO, this is a useful stranger in a good coat. TESS takes Vance's arm and walks him back to his chair. He stands under the biggest lamp until the glow washes out. The near gallery keeps watching the Slate One from above. The Capitol Square fills before sunrise. The scaffolding is off the platform as of Tuesday. Bare boards, a brass rail, a red runner. Men have been building this thing since the spring. It is finished now, and so are the 90 days. 90 days is the whole clock our boy gets. Kai is standing at the foot of it with a morning spare. Barriers hold the crowd back off the runner. City guards stand at every gap in the rail. A herald walks the platform once and tests the rail. That platform holds one man for 10 minutes at noon. Everything that decides those 10 minutes happens inside the hall, out of sight. The Capitol Hall doors stand open at 8. Carriages come up the processional road nose to tail. Inside, the hall is already loud and three-quarters full. The last arrivals crowd off the carpet to the sides. Dragon nobles take the galleries and humans stand below. 800 people, and the room smells of wet wool. Vance's comes in on Tessa's arm at 9. The wine-red shoulders are padded thicker and still hollow. The collar stands off his throat by 2 fingers now. TESS in emerald green, a hand under his elbow. TESS has made this walk with Vance in a corridor. Vance's father sits in the second row. A land steward waits at a side table, ledger open. 400 acres written out, waiting on a signature. Household guards in crimson sashes line the dais steps. Then the heat shimmer starts at the top of the carpet. Emberwing walks down the middle of the floor. Talking stops. Dark red hair, and crimson running up his neck past the collar. Half-open wings, a black long coat, the air bending over him. 900 years old, and this is a Tuesday. Emberwing puts a hand on Vance's shoulder. The same hand, the same shoulder, a different hall. Vance straightens under it and looks out. The last 2 arrivals come in late. Orla first, gold up both arms, black gown, wings folded back. Beside Orla walks the one they are calling the Slate One. Slate scales up both forearms, slate wings held half open. A slate gray court coat buttoned to the throat. The name is 3 days old and Orla gave it to them. That is the whole of what the Capitol has on him. Kai and Orla take standing room at the side. A line of light shows at the seam of the kid's coat. Dead center chest, thin as a wire, and steady. A man in the gallery takes it for a chain. A lit dragon is new to everyone here. Aldrich is at the back with his house, bronze. Aldrich sees the slate wings and stays put. Vance's hair has thinned since the spring. The herald unrolls the grant of land and starts reading. Emberwing turns his head halfway through the second line. The heat shimmer at Emberwing's shoulders stutters and settles wrong. Our boy watches Vance across 40 feet of carpet. Emberwing lifts his chin like a man smelling smoke. Here is what a bond actually feels like from the dragon's end of it. A dragon burning a core knows that core the way you know a voice. Through a shut door, in one syllable. Emberwing has been drinking from one particular core for 90 straight days. Emberwing knows the taste of it better than he knows Vance's handwriting. And Emberwing is tasting that exact core twice over in this one room. Thin and going out under his hand, on Vance's shoulder. Full strength, 40 feet off, at the side. Coming off something that is powering itself. Emberwing takes his hand off Vance's shoulder. The herald reads on, waiting to be stopped. Emberwing walks back down the carpet toward the doors. The household guards clear out of his way. Emberwing stops 6 feet short and looks at Kai's chest. Orla puts herself half a step forward and the kid moves her back. Burning orange eyes on the seam of Kai's coat. Emberwing asks Kai where his human is. Kai says he hasn't got one. 4 words, flat, in front of the whole Capitol. Emberwing is 900 years old, and that sentence is brand new to him. Heat comes off Amberwing and lifts the carpet edge. Kai stands in it, arms at his sides. The line at Kai's seam dips once, like a wick. Kai puts a flat hand over the seam and it does nothing. Orla moves in against his shoulder and the line steadies. That is what standing still in front of Amberwing costs our boy. Orlu watches Kai do it. Her mouth goes thin. Orlu is the only one in this hall frightened for Kai. Every other face in the galleries is frightened of Kai. Emberwing looks up from the light into Kai's face. It is a stranger's face and Emberwing reads it so. So Emberwing turns and walks back up the carpet. Vance is smiling because Vance still thinks this is about him. Emberwing goes past Vance to the land steward's table. Emberwing says one sentence. The steward's pen leaves the page. A link takes an evening to make and a single breath to unmake. What takes longer is everything hanging off it. The heat goes out of Vance in the space of a word. Vance's padded shoulders drop inside the wine-red coat. The color leaves Vance's face from the hairline down. Vance's legs go and he sits on the step. The land steward shuts the ledger and turns it over. 400 acres go back to the house that lent them. The guards on the steps take one pace back. Those guards belong to Amberwing and always have. 2 of them walk out through the side door. The herald folds the grant and steps down. The crowning at noon is over before it starts. Vance's father stands up in the second row. Then Vance's father sits back down and studies the floor. The tenants at the back put their hats on. Vance has land, guards, a name, and a wedding at breakfast time. All 4 are on loan, and the lender is leaving. Vance goes from a lord to a boy in 1 second. Vance looks for his father and finds a bowed head. TTSO is the only one who moves. TESO goes down on the boards in the emerald dress. She gets both hands under Vance's arms. TES's has let go of a hand in a room like this. She does not let go of this one. The galleries start talking at once, and the noise is hungry. Here is what the galleries think they are watching. A dragon gets bored of a human and puts him down. That happens. It has happened in this city for centuries. Here is what has actually been done to Vance since the March fittings. A core has a floor under it. You draw mana off, and the body pushes more up to meet you. Every dragon alive takes at that speed because that is the speed a body allows. The kid's core has no floor in it. It feeds at full pressure for exactly as long as anybody keeps pulling. For 90 days, Emberwing pulls as hard as a dragon can. The mana runs out. Emberwing keeps pulling. The doctor with the wooden tube is right about the heart. The family mage is right about the core. The core is perfect. The boy wrapped around it has been used up. This is the fastest a human has been emptied. It is also the most a human can give. Vance believes he has spent 90 days being rewarded for something. Vance's has spent 90 days being eaten. The tailor takes that coat in twice, then pads the shoulders. The hall keeps every bit of that to itself. The galleries down both sides are still talking about a dragon's temper. Our boy keeps it behind his teeth and watches TESA. Kai has known it for weeks. Kai is the only person in this room who understands what he sees. And this is what taking it back looks like. Kai steps onto the carpet for the first time. The galleries go quiet in the wrong order, back row to front. Slate wings, a slate coat, a thin light crossing the floor. Emberwing turns to watch Kai go past, and lets it happen. Kai stops at the step where TESU is kneeling. TTSO looks up at the stranger she met on Saturday. Kai looks down at the cousin who is wearing his core. Vance's eyes are open and looking past TESU's shoulder. Kai says 5 words to the steward. Get this man a chair. That is the whole of it. 2 servants, bring a chair, and TESO gets Vance into it. Kai turns and walks back to the side. Kai keeps his eyes down the whole way. The light at the kid's seam dips again. Orla sees the second dip and takes Kai's sleeve. Kai moves his arm out from under her hand. Orlu leaves her hand in the air. Then a warlock closes it and puts it in her lap. Emberwing is standing where he stopped on the carpet. 900 years of judgment, holding still in front of everybody. Emberwing looks at a slate-scaled stranger and does arithmetic. The arithmetic reaches a core, and the arithmetic stops there. The core is all Emberwing has ever touched of Kai. 90 days ago, our boy tells Orla he is taking it back. Orlu laughs at Kai among the pine needles. Outside, the platform stands finished and bare. The city crowd is packed in behind the barriers. They are waiting for a door to open. The doors stay shut. The herald sends word down that noon is cancelled. The Red Runner stays on the steps until Thursday. Vance sits in the chair Kai sent for on the dais step. Emberwing comes down the carpet to the side of the hall. Burning orange eyes, crimson scales, and heat bending the air. Kai stands up off the side bench to meet him. 800 people in the galleries lean out over the rails. You run on nothing, Emberwing says. Then Emberwing points back at the chair on the dais. That boy is carrying a bottomless core. It is the only one anybody has ever found. Take him. The land, the guards, my name behind all of it. Every dragon alive would trade a century for that sentence. Our boy looks at the chair, and then at Emberwing. Aldrich leans off the back wall to see the hand. A dragon links to a human and burns that mana as power. Kai has made his own since the first hour of it. Emberwing waits with his hand still out. Kai leaves the hand where it is. Emberwing lets the hand drop to his side. Orlu watches from the bench with her hands in her lap. Then a voice comes off the floor of the hall. Vance's father is on his feet in the second row. Vance's father says the core was bought and paid for. There is a contract, and it is lodged in the capital. Emberwing sends the steward for it without turning around. The steward comes back with a folded sheet and a broken seal. Emberwing opens the contract and reads it standing up. A sale like this one reads like a bill for a horse. Emberwing reads the first line out loud to the hall. One core, whole, removed under supervision, winter, the 12th. 410 million on delivery. Vendor's share, 9%, paid in the spring. The vendor on a paper like this one is our boy's father. Emberwing turns the sheet over to the last clause. Subject, donor, male, 18 years, and then the name. Emberwing stops on the name. 900 years old, and Emberwing remembers that hall in winter. Emberwing remembers a boy read out at 0%. Emberwing lifts his eyes off the paper to the light. The light under the coat is coming out of a hole. A man in the third row says the name on the paper. Then the whole hall says it. A clean spot on the stone that winter, and nothing else. Every face in both galleries turns on to Kai. Our boy lets the hall finish before he says anything. Keep reading, Kai says. Emberwing goes down to the buyer's clause. The buyer accepts the core as found. No warranty is given on the health of the recipient. That signature belongs to Vance's father. That is one boy sold, and a death sentence bought for the other. Vance's father reads his own signature and sits back down. Vance is upright in the chair and has heard all of it. Vance turns his head in the chair toward Key. Vance's mouth moves and the sound stays in his throat. Tessa is on the boards beside the chair in emerald green. PTSO spends an hour tonight being charming to Key. Sessa's hands stay on Vance and her face empties. Kai looks at Tesu for about a second. Kai's father says his son's name from the fourth row. Our boy keeps his back to the fourth row. Then Kai brings a folded band of crimson cloth out of his coat. The dais guards are wearing the same crimson sash. Kay drops the sash on the carpet in front of Emberwing. That sash belongs to a man paid by the afternoon to kill Key. Emberwing looks at the crimson cloth and lets it lie. The heat shimmer around Emberwing goes flat. Then Emberwing drops the human shape on the carpet. A dragon does that when something is seriously trying to kill him. Crimson plating, 4 legs, long neck, 1 pair of wings. Emberwing fills the floor between the pillars and the dais. Kai stands there in a plain dark coat, buttoned high. 900 years, and Emberwing has always sent other people. Families go off the floor and pack onto the side stairs. Lu stays exactly where she is on the bench. Emberwing puts fire down the whole length of the carpet. The carpet is ash in under a second. The kid walks into the fire with one hand out. The fire folds back on itself and goes out. Kai's coat hangs off a shoulder it fitted this morning. Lu sees the shoulder before anybody else in the hall does. Emberwing comes up the floor with his head low. Every step of that walk is practiced, and it shows. Kai puts one flat hand on the side of the skull. The crimson front legs go out from under Emberwing. Marble splits in a line under the crimson chest. Kai holds Emberwing there 4 seconds and lets go. The slate scales on Kai's wrist have gone chalky and dull. Kai lifts at his own wrist and keeps walking. Emberwing pulls the heat out of the entire hall. The gallery lamps drop to orange threads. Frost climbs the pillars and the tall windows go white. Our boy walks through it and the frost lets go of the stone. That is a top-tier form, and almost nobody alive holds it. The light through Kay's coat climbs until it whites the buttons. It stays up after the frost is off the windows. Lu is off the bench and 2 steps onto the carpet. Orla has been counting since the carpet burned. Lu says Kai's name once and Kai keeps walking. Amberwing opens both wings and comes the whole length of the floor. Everything the old dragon has, in one straight line. Kai catches the crimson neck and turns it aside. Emberwing goes through the front row of chairs into a pillar. There is gray in the hair over Key's left ear. Our boy turned 18 in the winter and his hair is going. Emberwing comes off the floor in the human shape again. You go back to the small shape when the big one stops helping. Emberwing's coat is open, and Emberwing's mouth is bleeding. Kai crosses the floor to Emberwing without hurrying. Kai takes Emberwing by the coat and puts him down on the steps. 900 years old, and Emberwing stops fighting. Kai lets go of the coat and straightens up. Then Kai opens his right hand with his left one. The light in Kai's chest reaches the gallery ceiling. Kai's own shadow goes up the wall behind him, thin. The hall watches the shadow instead of the dragon on the steps. Orla is watching the boy under the shadow. Kai stands in the middle of the burnt carpet. Emberwing sits on the dais steps with his coat open. Blood on Emberwing's mouth and both hands on his knees. The light through Kai's coat keeps climbing. Then what the kid has just won arrives all at once. Kai puts a hand out toward the floor and misses it. White light goes out of the hollow in every direction. It washes the far end of the hall out inside a second. The nearest people put their hands over their eyes. Kai goes up and stops at 2 humans tall. The vaulted ceiling is still well above his head. He fits inside this hall, which is the frightening part. The coat is gone, and the plating stands off him like a shell. Through the gap in his ribs, the far wall shows. Both wing pairs open, and both of them work. The edges of him flicker like something not staying. Crack lines run out of the hollow and cover him. The hollow itself is too bright to look at. The stone under his feet goes cold and pale. Frost climbs the pillars again, and this time it comes off Ki. Breath fogs in the front rows of chairs. The crowd on the side stairs presses back against a wall. Out on the burnt carpet, Oarlu stands where the frost stops. Gold scales, black gown, amber eyes gone wide. Above her, the high seats push back from the gallery rail. Oarlu stays where she is with her arms down at her sides. Her mouth comes open and stays open. The rest of this hall is watching a miracle happen. Oarlu is watching how much of the boy is left. Her hands close on nothing and go white at the knuckles. She puts one hand flat across her own mouth. Orla holds her eyes on him and keeps them there. Out on the floor, the light thins at his edges. One chest plate goes dark and stays dark. It falls off him and rings on the marble. Kai comes down out of the light and comes down human. He lands on both hands on the ash. The chalky scales have spread from his wrist to the elbow. The gray over his left ear has gone white to the crown. The hollow burns through his shirt front like a coal. Our boy gets upright again and stays up. Tessa has pulled Vance off the dais to a pillar base. Wine red coat, silver frogging, and a collar he swims in. Emerald green on the floor beside him, holding his head up. Under Vance's shirt, a core is burning steady and hot. Kai crosses the floor and stands where Vance can see him. Kai could put a hand out and take the thing back. Vance tries to say something and gets no air for it. Keep it, Key says. You were never going to be able to hold it. Kai says it flat and turns around. Tess watches our boy walk away from his own core. The crowd is packed along the side stairs and the rails. Human families on the stairs, dragons above them on the gallery. Dragons are not immortal, Key says. We stay standing on what your cores make. Every one of you down here is being burned to keep one of us up. It is slow, and it is happening now. Ask the one you came with how many he has had. The humans move first. A woman on the third stair turns to look up. A man takes his hand off a dragon's sleeve. Then the gallery goes quiet along its whole length. Heat shimmer flattens out above every high seat at once. One high seat dragon sits down on the step behind him. 300 people work the same sum out at once. Halfway up the side stairs there is a small boy. Patched brown stable tunic under a borrowed coat too big. Mousy hair up at the crown, boots stuffed with rag. Mwilo has come up on the cart to watch the crowning. Orla crosses the burnt carpet toward the side stairs. Gold wings, black gown, the whole hall turning to watch her. She goes up 3 of the side stairs and stops. Mwilo stands because a lady is coming. Orlu sits down on the stairs so their faces are level. She takes Milo's hands and turns them palm up. This boy has kept a gold dragon standing since he was 10. Orla puts 2 fingers flat on Milo's breastbone. She says 6 words nobody in this hall has heard before. The light between her fingers and his chest goes out. Milo blinks and looks down at his own front. The 2 white hairs at her temples spread into a streak. A force scale on her left forearm goes flat and dull. The crease beside her mouth cuts down toward the jaw. Orla puts a hand down on the stair to stay upright. This is the thing she has spent 9 years outrunning. Down on the floor, our boy watches her hand go down. Milo puts a hand on her wrist because she looks unwell. Milo asks Orla whether he has done something wrong. No, Orlu says. He asks whether he can still come on Tuesdays. Yes, Orlu says. Milo nods, and that is all of it he understands. Orla gets up off the stair on the second try. She keeps her eyes on Milo the whole way back down. Somewhere in the gallery, a chair goes over. Kai stands on the ash with one hand on a chair back. The light under his shirt sits lower now. An old dragon comes down off the gallery to the floor. He kneels on the burnt carpet in front of the kid. Copper curls on the side stairs, and Aldrich goes down. The stairs go down in blocks from the bottom up. The gallery comes off the rail and kneels along its length. Every dragon in this hall is renting, and one of them is not. Kai keeps hold of the chair back and stays standing. The kid looks at the doors at the far end. His breath fogs in front of his own face. Crack lines show white through the front of his shirt. 300 people down on the stone, and one boy upright. The hall gets up off its knees in rows. Benches scrape and the lamps come back up. A steel blue dragon finds his human at the rail. He puts a hand flat on the man's shoulder. The 2 of them go out through the arch. A violet woman leaves on her human's arm. 2 more pairs go out the side door. Every one of them comes in exactly that way. Kai's father goes out at the back and does not look over. Our boy stands where the crowd left him. Light comes through his shirt where the hollow is. It lays a pale mark on the floor. Orla comes down off the side stairs and crosses the ash. There is a wide white streak at her temple now. Kai looks at her forearm and counts the dead scales. She stops an arm's length from Ki. You've told them what we are, Orlu says. You haven't given us a way to be anything else. Kai looks at the arch where the pairs go out. The last 2 are still out on the step. A dragon and the human who keeps him standing up. Orlu waits with her hand open on the bench end. I'm going to the source, Kai says. Greta named it once over a kettle and counted 6 who went up. Every one of those 6 is still up there. The kid wants something dragons can burn that is not a person's whole life. Orla asks him what he means to do with it. Say you find it, Orlu says. You could sell it, and every roost on the coast bids. Or you hold it, and you are the only one who has it. Orla lays a flat gold hand on the bench rail. Give it away, and you have nothing left to trade. And every dragon alive has a reason to put you down. She is talking price on the same morning she gives Milo up. Milo sits outside on the steps with a bundle. Milo waits there for somebody to come for him. Orla keeps her eyes on Ki. You are dying, Orlu says. Do not spend what is left of you on strangers. Our boy puts a hand on the pillar to get himself moving. Kai goes past Orlu and out under the arch. Orlu's hand stays open on the rail. Kai stops at the top of the steps. The gorse road runs north out of the gate. The light out of his chest reaches the first stair.